Welcome to Fun in the Sun, Daytona style. And what has become a 4th of July weekend tradition, you begin the day at the beach and finish it here on the high banks. For over 6 decades, fans have flocked to this mecca of motorsports. In the early years, they raced between drifts of sand. In the modern era, they hang in 200-mile-per-hour drafts. Racing here is all about high risks and high drama. But first, you must have the courage and the car to get qualified, which means finding speed on a sweltering hot Daytona day in July. ESPN welcomes you live to our coverage of NASCAR Nationwide Series pole qualifying from the World Center of Racing Daytona International Speedway. 46 cars will line up and make a turn to qualify. They get 2 consecutive laps on the racetrack. 30 get in by owners points, 16 by time and speed. In yesterday's final practice session, it was a little bit hairy out of turn 4 for 4 cars. Stephen Wallace, a 66 car. There's contact with he and rookie Scott Lagasse Jr. Lagasse's car gets almost airborne and hits the 34 car of Tony Raines. The 1 car just does get woed up. Mike Bliss wasn't involved, but had to burn those brakes big time.
Good job, good job, good job.
And he was able to get through, but there's the damage on the 11 car, and Lagasse's team had to pull out the backup car to get it ready for qualifying here coming up momentarily. Of course, qualifying setting the field for tonight's coverage of the Subway Jalapeno 250, which will come your way on ESPN at 7:30 Eastern Time. Hello, everyone. Along with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. Well, guys, they qualify right now in the heat of the day, and they race tonight when it's cooler, but the cars are impounded after qualifying, so I guess a lot of people have some decisions to make.
Well, the top 30 in points will not have to make a real hard decision because they will qualify with their absolute race setup. They will not compromise it at all. They'll qualify with that and take what it gives them for that starting position. But there'll be some cars that are on the probably out of the top 30 that will have to make some decisions.
Yeah, some of these guys are going to have to get in on speed, and so they're going to have to do a few more adjustments to make sure that they are in the race. And in doing that, they're going to compromise their race setup some. They're going to hope for an early caution flag to where they can make some adjustments so they don't have to drive an ill-handling car for very long.
Could be hairy for some of those guys holding on for the first half of the race here tonight with a qualifying setup under the car. Now, for more stories we'll be following, let's go down to the pits and Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, the last 2 races here at Daytona, it was Carl Edwards who was leading late in the race, but both times he came up short. Well, that's been the story here at Daytona for Roush Fenway Racing. They've never won, but perhaps they're getting closer. Remember, the last restrictor plate race was won by their own David Ragan. And right here in Daytona last February, all 4 Roush Fenway cars finished in the top 10. Okay, that's all fine and great, but they first have to qualify. Matt Kenseth is back in the 16 car. David Ragan and Carl Edwards, they're all going for another first. If they get the pole today, it'll be the first ever for Ford Racing in the Nationwide Series here at Daytona. Mike Massaro?
Thank you, Jamie. If a Joe Gibbs racing car were to win the pole today, it certainly would not be a first. Of all the restrictor plate races in the Nationwide Series since 2006, this organization has won more than half the poles. In the spotlight today, young Joey Logano. In each of his last 3 starts, he's went out and set fast time. If he's to do that for a 4th consecutive time, well, he's got a little bit of work to do. I spoke with his crew chief, Dave Rogers, moments ago, and he said during their mock qualifying run on Thursday, he felt like they were close to being a second off what he expects to be the pole time this afternoon, Doc.
And Mike, it was that 20 car that won here last July with Denny Hamlin aboard. When we come back in a moment, we'll roll the cars to qualify. First car to roll will be our points leader, Kyle Busch, and right behind him, the Daytona 500 winner, Matt Kenseth, then former pole sitter here, Kenny Wallace.
NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
Kyle Busch, the first car to go on the track to qualify. The current points leader has never won a pole at Daytona. He has won the race here, though, and he did that 2 Julys ago, back in the summer of 2007. First few times he came here, he wasn't very good, but look at the last 4 times here. He has been awfully good.
And he's led a lot of laps, 131 laps last 4 races. It's not just here at Daytona. That's just about everywhere we go.
He is definitely put himself as the man to beat pretty much everywhere that we go, and this certainly is another one of those. This racetrack and driving these cars with this aero package kind of fits his style. Wide open, hung out a little bit, and keeping it on the floor.
Yeah, this is going to be an indication now of just how fast these Gibbs cars are going to be, because they have been traditionally the cars to beat for the pole position down here at Daytona.
So many variables that can impact a qualifying run here. This qualifying session takes the better part of 3 hours. So from start to finish, DJ, what all can change? Obviously, the wind is a factor, the temperature, maybe some of the humidity.
Yeah, I think as we've been talking, and Andy and I are talking, the wind is probably the biggest factor. You have to really keep up with what's happening there. The temperature of the racetrack and the air temperature, it may vary a little bit, may get a little bit hotter, but it's not really enough to make a change in those 3 hours. It is hotter right now than when these guys made a simulated run yesterday afternoon. He ran a 50-61 in doing that. So it'll be interesting to see if the track has slowed down, if this air temperature is making the cars a little bit slower. But the wind is something they really have to keep up with, Andy.
Well, one of the things that you go to some of these racetracks, and one of the, if not the biggest factor, is the track temperature, because the cars are limited by how much grip they have in the corners. Here at Daytona and Talladega, it's really the speed is limited by the wind resistance, to basically, a terminal velocity situation. So the wind is probably the most critical thing here, the direction and speed of the wind, more so than the temperature. Now, the cars are a little bit temperature sensitive, and it will make some difference, but it's not the biggest thing when you come to qualifying here.
Yeah, there's no grip to be had on this racetrack anyway. It's worn out, so you don't have to worry about that.
We saw the obligatory throwaway lap that time by, on first time by for Kyle Busch. He was about a half a second slower than what he was in the final practice. This one should be considerably quicker, probably in the 50.5 second range.
Yeah, we're going to look at somewhere between 5 and 7/10 of a second on these pickups for everybody.
Yeah, like 3/4 of a second pickup to a 50.42. That's a pretty good lap.
And that is actually quicker than he ran in the final practice session on Thursday. Here's the wind we were talking about, and the wind, depending upon where you are in this racetrack, it can be blowing in a different direction.
And that's off of turn 2 right there, and you can see how it's blowing down the back straightaway. That's actually good for speed, because if you get a tailwind down the backstretch, it seems to help you. It does help your speed down the backstretch, and you on the other side, on the front straightaway, this grandstands shield a lot of that headwind that you would normally balance that out with. So the net result is you get just a little bit more speed.
Yeah, even though the front straightaway through the tri-oval and down into turn 1, that's your fastest part of the racetrack. But as you said, Andy, with the getting shielded a lot by the grandstands here, you don't have that hurting you quite as much. You can see turn 3. This was a flag that I always used to use as a driver when I went out for my qualifying lap. They were telling me, I wanted to know the whole time, because it depended on what the wind was doing and what I saw these flags doing. That's exactly where I was going to run on the racetrack a lot of the time. Now, because we slowed the cars down so much, you really make that second lap as short as you possibly can. But there would be times that I found here testing a lot that if the wind was against me down the back straightaway, I ran up against the wall. It just seemed to shield the wind a little bit more, and you could actually make a little bit better time, as we see Matt Kenseth on the track now.
2009 Daytona 500 winner. And if you remember what happened in that race, folks, he can start anywhere. And when he started 39th back in February when he won the Great American Race, started on the outside front row back in February in the Nationwide Series.
Yeah, I think he found out early on in his career that they didn't pay on qualifying day nearly like they pay on race day.
Matt has 5 top 10 finishes and just 6 starts. A very, very limited schedule this year in the Nationwide car. He did win a pole already this year, that coming up at Richmond, Virginia.
And Matt always does a really good job here at Daytona. His worst finish here is 12th. So he does a good job of keeping himself out of trouble and positioning himself and getting ready for the time that it really pays. And that's when you get down to those last 20 laps of this race.
Now, his first lap's quite a bit faster than Kyle Busch's first lap, but I did notice that he didn't run a high line, as high a line as Kyle Busch did on his first lap. So there won't be as much difference between his first and second lap.
Yeah, you can really make that difference, or those lap times to be completely different depending on where you run. If you're going to run right against the wall as Kyle Busch did and try to get your car wound up as much as possible and have as many RPMs, then you're going to see a big difference.
And now you see Matt Kenseth running as low as you can, almost against the yellow line, even on the straightaway, trying to make the distance as short as possible on this, what is going to be his fast lap. You can see it in the green right there. Definitely, that's compared to Kyle Busch, so he's definitely faster than Kyle.
Yeah, on pace for quite a bit faster here.
He's had to be in a hurry. He's been on call all week because his wife and Katie is expecting their first child, and He's waiting for the phone to ring, so he had to hustle this car around for 2 laps of qualifying. Right now, Kenseth, the quickest of the 2 cars to go out at 50.156 seconds. Well, he's already been a winner here back in 2000, February edition for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, when he drove a car owned by Robbie Reiser to victory lane to pick up his first nationwide win at Daytona. More qualifying when we come back in just a moment. Back for qualifying at Daytona, the 3rd car to go on the racetrack, the 28 car, Jade Robinson Racing. And of course, that is the effort of Kenny Wallace, the former pole sitter here at Daytona. Very first pole in this series back in 1989 when he came here in February. Let's go down to Mike.
And the words out of Kyle Busch over his radio during that lap. Better than yesterday. How good was the lap?
Well, you guys need to get your people right on the radio. That was Radcliffe. So
either way, it sounds like the team's a little bit optimistic, and it seems like he improved a little bit from practice.
Well, from what we ran in our mock qualifying run yesterday, it's just a little more overcast than what it was yesterday. The wind's different from yesterday, so it gave us a lot of speed going down the backstretch. But overall, the NOS Energy Drink Toyota's handled well since we got here. We're pretty happy with it, so we'll just take what we get here wherever it puts us and ultimately outrace them tonight.
And guys, we all know it doesn't matter where Kyle Busch starts, he will be a factor. Doc?
Indeed, no matter where he starts, he's going to be a factor, and we saw that you can win this race from 42nd spot, as Chad Little did, and 2 years ago, actually, it was Kevin Harvick that won from 31st.
That's what's so great about this aero package. It does bunch all the cars up and makes it really anybody's race. If you can stay right in that lead draft, you'll have a shot. You see the piece of tape over the tachometer says, please do not hit the brakes. What these guys do is they push the brake pucks back, the calipers, and they get the pads away from the rotors, because even just that slight rub that you get from that will slow the car down. You gain just a little bit of speed by pushing those brake pucks back.
And you need to remember, DJ, when you come down the stop after qualifying, that those brake pucks are away from the caliper.
Yeah, and most of the time, as soon as you take the checkered flag, your crew chief's on the radio. Remember your brakes, and you know what they're talking about, because it takes 4 or 5 pumps really to get them back to where you have that brake. But there have been people that have come to pit road and forgot that, and it gets quite exciting.
Yeah, it can get ugly in a hurry. Kenny's first lap by 51.537. That will be the slowest of the 3 cars that have gone out. He should pick it up. He may be close to what Kyle Busch ran this time by. Should get in the 52nd bracket, and he doesn't quite get there. 51.011 still puts him 3rd overall. Let's go down to Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, unfortunately, due to lack of sponsorship, this is Michael McDowell's last race. As of now, what are you hoping to accomplish this weekend?
Well, I keep telling our guys at JTG Doherty Racing that a win changes everything, and you know, whether it would or not, we're just going to go out here tonight and have a great time and try to get this Tom Snacks Toyota Camry up front. I'm really proud of the effort we put together, and you know, come out of here in the top 10 in points. Even if we can't go to Chicago, I think it's saying something for the race team, and you know, hopefully we'll be back before the end of the year.
Well, the good thing is, Doc, you said a lot of people are talking, and they have some things. It's just not in ink yet.
4 times he's been a top finishing rookie this year, and he's 11th in the points, yet they need some help to be able to continue on after this race. And obviously, what a great team that would be to jump on and help Michael McDowell. Lots of motorsports information coming your way on maybe updating sponsorships tonight on NASCAR Now at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And, of course, NASCAR Now presented by 5 Hour Energy tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And we'll invite you to join us beginning with NASCAR Countdown tonight from right here in Daytona on ESPN at 7:30 Eastern Time, the Subway Jalapeno 250. And if you like open-wheel action, let's go to Watkins Glen on ABC, 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow. Marty Reed, Scott Goodyear, and all the gang, IndyCar action from the Glen. Here's Jason Leffler, and here's a guy that always qualifies extremely well here at Daytona.
Yeah, these guys seem to really have a good package for this racetrack. The engine package we know is extremely good, but they always seem, Andy, to really get their cars aerodynamically sound and have a good run, start up front, and stay there most of the night.
And that usually means that they put a lot of emphasis in this style of racing. I know as a car owner and crew chief that I really like this kind of racing. I put a lot of effort in it, maybe sometimes more than I should have, because it hurts some of the other places we raced. But I just felt like this was one of those racetracks that where the crew and the crew chief has a lot to do with how the car runs. I mean, the driver has a lot to do with most of these other tracks, and maybe is the biggest factor. But here, the car is so important, and put a lot of emphasis in it, and it can pay dividends.
The worst he has started here in the last 5 times he has come to this racetrack is 8th. He started 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 8th, and 4th back in February.
Well, I know they worked hard on their race setup yesterday, because ultimately that's what they're after, is to keep this string of top 10 finishes that they have going, keep that alive, and still hoping that one of those or both of those front 2 guys basically that have gotten away, Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards, that if they have a problem, they want to be there to capitalize.
Remember back in February here, they had a problem. They dropped a valve and it broke a valve spring early on, and were sort of puttering around back there about 15th to 18th spot, and got involved in a little shunt on the racetrack with Stephen Wallace, and they ended up sitting on pit road in a penalty box for 5 laps. And by the way, those are the only 5 laps he has not run here in 2009.
Yeah, they've had a great season to this point. I know they want to go to victory lane, but they've been extremely consistent. Here's his 2nd lap. Probably not exactly what they were looking for. They're usually a little bit faster than that, but that'll be 3rd quickest right now.
4 cars have qualified. It is Kenseth, Busch, Leffler, and Wallace. And look at the consecutive top 10 finishes with what Dale Jarrett was talking about. 11 in a row for this team, the 38 guys. Qualifying continuing here at Daytona. The 99 car going out to qualify. He's a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. Michael Waltrip, although he has never won in a NASCAR Nationwide Series restrictor plate race. Hard to believe this guy's been so good. All 4 of his Cup wins have come on restrictor plate tracks, yet he has never won in this series on a plate track. Pretty good company there with Bowyer and Edwards. Let's go down where Mike is standing by with the Daytona 500 winner.
And catching up with Matt Kenseth, who went out 2nd this afternoon. What'd you think of the lap?
Oh, it was great from where I was sitting. We didn't work on qualifying at all since it's an impound race, really. So I don't really have much to compare to except the first couple cars. So I don't know if that's going to end up good or bad. But usually look at 18 as one of the guys that beat, and it ran a little quicker than him. So I didn't know how much speed really to expect.
I know the focus has to be on the race cars this weekend, Nationwide and Cup, but there is a bit of a distraction, and rightfully so. Your wife is due this week. What's the plan if the baby comes this weekend?
Well, my plan is to try to be there unless it's on race night. Obviously, you got to run the Cup race for sure. So other than that, I plan on being there. So she promised me that she was going to have it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. So I'm going to hold her to that.
Well, you got to hold your wife to a promise every once in a while, I guess. Matt, good luck. Jamie?
And his teammate David Ragan just getting ready to roll out right now. So David, I talked about in the top, all 4 Roush Fenway cars, top 10 in February. How close are you guys to getting your first win here?
Hopefully really close. I think our discount tire Ford is pretty fast. It's got some pretty good speed, which is always a good thing for here at Daytona. But it's good to have some teammates in the field. But everyone at Roush Yates Engines have been doing a great job. We've got good horsepower here, and our Ford Fusion is driving pretty good. But it's good to have speed at Daytona. So typical July 4th weekend. I think it's hot and sunny, and I think it'll be a lot of action tonight.
David Ragan, good in the draft yesterday. Doc, he was P1 on the charts yesterday.
And Jamie, a Ford has never won a pole. Hard to believe. I know in 35 nationwide races here at Daytona, we've never had the blue oval sit on the inside of row 1, although they've done it a number of times, and DJ, you were a part of that as a Cup driver.
That's one thing that surprised me, and it's hard to believe that number, that stat, that they haven't. But and even Michael Waltrip not winning a restrictor plate race in this series, hard for me to believe as good as he runs on this type track.
Yeah, we can think of a number of times he was so close to that happening. It just shows you how fickle this racetrack is. You can get close, but sometimes it just shuts the door on you. Here's Michael finishing up his 2nd lap. That'll put him 4th at a 50.783.
Yeah, he's not going to be starting too far up front, but that's the great thing about this draft. He'll be there. I'm sure he'll be up front before the night's over.
He'll make it fun for us and everybody watching to watch him, because we know he's going to be coming to the front.
He was leading here a few years ago in the final lap and got a little turn from behind by Mr. Leffler, and that's what allowed Mike Wallace to lead the final quarter of a lap to get to victory lane.
Michael's another one of those drivers. We were talking yesterday during practice about the different drivers and what makes one driver know more about the draft than somebody else. And Michael's one of those drivers that really understands it. And he couples that with just a really aggressive style on this type of racetrack and this type of racing. And it makes it really fun to watch him.
When you say aggressive, and I've seen a lot of guys make moves in the draft that I would consider, what do you consider aggressive in the draft?
I think he puts himself in position at times. He's not afraid to really get a good run and slide in a hole that is just, you know, less than a foot longer than what his car is. And to me, that's being pretty aggressive when you put yourself in that position a lot. But you know that's going to come from Michael, and I think that he commands, obviously, the respect to do that. And that's the way Dale Earnhardt used to be, too. He used to put that car in places, and people would back out and let him get in there, that some others don't get that respect. And Michael's a lot like that, that people understand that he takes that aggressive nature to another level when we come to Daytona.
Here's Michael McDowell. You heard the interview a moment ago, and they are basically out of sponsorship. This will be the last race he will run in 2009 unless they can get some help, and they are 11th in the point standings, 3rd overall in the Rookie of the Year standings, just 14 points back of Justin Allgaier and 15 back of Brendan Gaughan. And we mentioned he was the top finishing rookie here back in February, 14th in his debut here in the race in February.
Yeah, this is one of the unfortunate things that our economy right now is having an effect on our sport and young drivers that really are, right now, he's getting the seat time that he really needs to become a better race driver and work his way back to the Cup Series where he has some starts. And he has a lot of potential, but unfortunately the financial side of this is going to take its toll. And, you know, if they don't come up with something, then he's just going to have to wait around and get that experience at a later date.
He said their budget was just over $1.5 million to run the first half of the year. And Andy, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but in racing circles, that is a bargain.
I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't take long to spend money in this series or any series at the top level because it takes so much. I mean, it's a lot. It's a people business, but it takes a lot of parts and pieces to make this thing go round.
Of course, the same team has Marcus Ambrose running full-time in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. First time by for McDowell, slowest of the 6 cars to go out, a 51.758.
What you really hate to see, too, is they have a good team assembled there with a good young driver, and if they don't get that, then obviously they're going to have to be cuts made there also, and you know, these are the type things that are affecting our sport at this moment.
Just can't imagine the pressure. Talking to him yesterday, and we saw the interview going through his mind right now, knowing he's got to get it done today and tonight to be able to keep this ride going in the series. Second lap a little bit quicker, but still the slowest of the 6 cars that have gone out to qualify here at Daytona. David Ragan, the next car to go out to qualify here at Daytona, and we mentioned he was the fastest car in the final practice section. He was also the first car to the checkered flag at Talladega, but what a wild finish on the final lap. He was 4th coming off of turn 4, and watch this move inside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and outside of Tony Raines. It's like, where did the 6 car come from? As you watch that, watch the left of Dale Earnhardt Jr. You think there's Newman, but here comes David Ragan just flying by to the checkered flag. That ended an 84-race winless streak, and what a fabulous celebration it was in Victory Lane.
Every time I see that, it's amazing how he got there in that short of a distance.
There have been 5 winners for Roush Fenway Racing in 2009. 5 races won, I should say. 4 different drivers, with Biffle winning twice this year.
Dave's done a really good job in these restrictor plate tracks in the last couple of years here, and getting a win like that gives him even more confidence that he can come to a place like Daytona, where he's had some success too. Hasn't won yet, but you know, he goes into this race tonight thinking that, hey, you know, I'm one of the guys they have to consider beating if they're going to win.
All right, let's go down to Jamie, who's standing by with a guy whose car he passed at Talladega for the victory.
And that would be Kevin Harvick. This car was the pole winner here in February as well as at Talladega. You took some notes, Kevin. What have you found? Is it better?
Well, we just needed to work on the handling side of it. The speed side of it is what it is, so you just kind of take what you've got there. But our veterans in Ford and War Chevrolet has been really good in both Speedway races. It's nice to work on the same car all 3 races. So we'll see what we've got in qualifying, but we feel like we've got a much better handling race car for the race.
Doc, he started on the pole, said the car was way too loose, so they've tightened it up, and he believes in it.
Well, he was the man to beat in February and here and at Talladega in terms of this race car. But David Ragan's got a lap going here, boys.
Yeah, looks like he's going to be the man to beat right now. Yeah, he's a good 10th and a half now, or almost a 10th and a half faster than his teammate to this point.
So that wasn't just drafting that got him to the top of the chart yesterday. He said his car had a lot of speed, and that's always good to have. That's something that you can't really make if you don't have it here, right, Andy?
You cannot adjust a car enough to get any speed once you get here. That is all kind of pre-engineered, I call it, back at the shop.
Well, he becomes the first driver in the 49-second category. Top of the speed chart for David Ragan, a 49.963, 180-plus mile-per-hour lap.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say pretty good.
Well, it's like these.
Jack looks happy.
Yeah,
that's a good sign.
Definitely a good sign.
You don't see a smile out of him very often.
Yeah, these guys are looking to break that streak and no Fords on the pole and get Roush a win here at Daytona.
And they even went back, took this car back and made some adjustments to add some downforce on the nose to account for the fact that it was going to be slick and slippery here at the racetrack.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to take the same car now from Talladega to Daytona and have some, Andy, because you have to have some downforce at this track because of the handling issue.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can go to Talladega and basically have no downforce because the track is so smooth and has so much grip. Here is exactly the opposite. It's bumpy and the surface itself has no grip. You have to have a lot of downforce to make the car where you can hold the throttle down all day.
Could we see a Ford for the first time lead the way at Daytona? We invite you to join us for our live flag-to-flag coverage coming up tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Subway Jalapeno 250 on ESPN. Remember, it was the Joe Gibbs cars that finished 1-2 here last July with Denny Hamlin taking the victory. We talked about the impressive rookie class here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series in 2009, and one of the drivers that we continue to say it's going to be very, very soon this guy goes to victory lane is Justin Allgaier driving for Roger Penske.
Yeah, we talked about how much talent this young man has, and it's just a matter of time. But as he goes to these racetracks for the second time and figures some things out, that he's going to continue to run up front and get to victory lane. Now, I'm going to take just a second here. Jump off just a minute because we got a rookie here at age 23. I want to say congratulations to my dad for being one of the 25 nominees for the first 5 into the Hall of Fame. I've called my dad, hadn't gotten to talk to him yet. So, Dad, if you happen to watch the show, congratulations. Quite an honor to him.
That list was announced last night, and the 25 nominees for the very first NASCAR Hall of Fame inductions. 5 will go in, and good to see Gentleman Ned as a part of that group.
He certainly deserves to be on that list.
Here's Justin finishing that first lap, 51.04.
You see how extremely high he ran on the first lap, and now he's going to run that extreme low line. This is probably the biggest difference between first and second lap lines that I've seen.
Yeah,
he's really right on that yellow line. And there's no real out of bounds line during qualifying. They can run as low as they can get their car to run.
Yeah, we can see right now it's losing a little bit of time to our pole sitter.
His first lap was a 51.04.
Yeah, it's about 4.5 tenths slower than what David Ragan ran on his first lap.
Looks like it's a little bit of a handful down there right on that yellow line.
See the car bouncing around. That's a really rough spot coming out of turn 4. You want your car to be able to work really good there. That's going to be a place that you'll try to pass. You see him utilize the apron. We haven't seen that yet today.
He moves up to 5th, the 50.61.
And that'll put him 5th overall of the 8 cars that have gone thus far in qualifying. We have 46 total cars, 42 left to go. And this young man right here from Unadilla, Georgia, is currently the pole sitter at Daytona in a Ford. Remember, Ford's never led him to the green flag here in nationwide competition. Qualifying continuing here at Daytona, 2-time series champion Kevin Harvick and the car that set on the pole here and at Talladega in 2009. Let's see if he can make it 3 in a row here in his VFW Chevy.
Sounded like when he was talking earlier that he wasn't too concerned about where he's going to start. He knows he's got a fast car, but he's really concerned about having this car driving the way he needs to try to win this race.
Yeah, he knew he had a fast car here in February, and he said it just was too loose for him to drive in traffic and get it where he needed to go. And so he's made some changes. I think aerodynamically they made some changes and some chassis changes to get it. He knows that the guy that can hold their car wide open the longest tonight is going to be who's going to get to the start-finish line first at the end of this race.
And a lot of times as a crew chief, you know, it's tempting to try to make a car that goes fast by itself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have to compromise the handling to do it, and it's hard to decide, okay, we're going to make this car slower just so it drives better, but sometimes what you have to do.
Kevin Harvick won both the Nationwide and Cup Series race Daytona 500 in February of 2007.
He's about a 10th off the pole.
Yeah.
Just shy of that down the backstretch. So he's going to be fast. And if he can make up just a little time down here in 3 and 4, he might get it.
Yeah, first lap was the quickest first lap that we've seen by 0.03 of a second.
So he's closing in on it just a little bit.
See if he can get closer again. Kevin driving his own car after driving so many years for Richard Childress Racing in both Cup and Nationwide, opting to now drive his own car for 2 full years, and that puts him second overall. 50.069 seconds. So right now he will be on the front row, not on the pole, but on the front row, although we are early on in qualifying. We talked about his great record here at this racetrack. The first 11 races he was driving RCR cars. Look at that, a win, 10 top 5s. The last 3 times he has come here, he's been trying to get his own team up to speed, and thus you see the numbers aren't as good, but he's getting there. Well, let's go down to Mike, who's standing by with the current pole sitter.
And of course, that's David Ragan. What was that lap like?
Well, it was pretty easy with just one car on the racetrack. Our discount tire Ford's handling pretty well. It's got good speed, and maybe a little surprise. We all come down, and this is all about the race. Qualifying's a lot of fun to try to set on the pole or do something like that. But we've got some things in our Ford Fusion here that should make it handle better tonight. On older tires, which will will be the difference between winning and finish 10th. So pretty happy with the way our car's driving. It's a typical July weekend. I think everyone's going to be slipping and sliding a lot, and it's hot and it's sunny, and we're all drinking a little Coca-Cola. So it's should be a fun race tonight.
You got to stay cool, just like you were in the spring back at Talladega. A victory there. What's it like for you coming back to another restrictor plate track, knowing your only win has come in this style of racing?
Well, I mean, it's great that we've got that win we can talk about, because it was getting old talking about, when's he going to win one, or, maybe we can find victory lane, maybe it's this weekend. So, we've got that first one out, and, I think it just shows you that it's very important just to be there at the end. You don't necessarily have to lead the most laps or even lead, coming to the checkered. You just have to lead crossing the checkered finish line. So I think that, it's good to have won under our belt, but that doesn't make it any easier for tonight's race.
Yeah, it won't be easy for anybody tonight, Doc.
It will not be. It's going to be hot and slippery, and not good news for the competition. Not only is that car fast by itself, he said they got a good package for used tires to be able to get the car to handle. That's not going to be fun to watch if you're a competitor.
Yeah, definitely. If they've got all of that going with speed and good handling and good tire wear, then they'll be one of the cars to beat tonight, certainly. And as you could hear David Ragan talk, these guys don't earn their money at Daytona in 2 laps of qualifying. They earn their money whenever we get into the race tonight, and they have to negotiate trying to beat 42 other cars.
Here's Brendan Gaughan, the leading Rookie of the Year contender right now. And back in February, they qualified poorly, started back in 35th position. But he said, we're not worried about qualifying. We wanted to be conservative with our setup. But when the race started, he drove it all the way in the top 10 and stayed there until a late slide with about 15 laps to go, put him in a final 15th place finish. But a good run from the back of the pack in February.
Yeah, he knows that draft's the big equalizer, and it doesn't matter where you qualify. He probably still going to be a little disappointed with this run, because his first lap was the slowest first lap, almost one of the slowest first laps we've had today. It's actually just a little bit quicker than Michael McDowell's first lap, but still a 51.70. He's probably not going to quite get the starting position he's looking for.
Yeah, and as we see, he is still the slowest of the 10 cars at a 51.18, and we talking about, even though you're off quite a bit, you can still draft, but the problem comes in trying to get yourself to the front and getting there, and then being able to stay out there when your car doesn't have that speed.
So much history here at Daytona. Does this paint scheme look familiar, folks? Look at that orange and blue. Remember 1984 when the King, Richard Petty, 25 years ago this weekend, pulled it off and made history. President Ragan in attendance, talking to Bill French Jr. to watch the King, Richard Petty, in the car owned by Mike Curb, come out of turn 4 on the final lap, and he had to drag race by KO, one of the all-time toughest guys to beat. And guess what? The King would come by and get his 200th and final victory right here at Daytona International Speedway. That was 25 years ago this weekend. Yesterday, the King, Richard Petty, turned 72 years of age. So happy birthday, King. Look at that record, that history. Let's go down to the pits and Jamie Little.
And it's Jason Keller who's running this paint scheme. And Jason, this car looks so good. The helmet looks so good. Is the car running as well?
Well, yesterday it didn't run as good as we'd like. We put everything back to what we had here in February, and the car ran really great in February, so I'm really excited about it. And it's just an honor to represent Richard Petty and his accomplishments here at Daytona and to represent his 200th win. And Mike Curb was the owner of his car that he won his 200th win in 25 years ago. So Mike Curb's an owner of ours as well. So we're really excited to be able to represent that. Just want to thank Scott Brand Products for letting us do it. You know, it's a little bit different in their colors, and but they wanted to do something special for the King, and it's a huge honor.
Well, they did the unveiling the other night together, Doc, and this helmet, actually, it's one of the decals Richard Petty's autographed, and then Jason went ahead and got the real deal right here. Pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. Love seeing those colors, and as he mentioned, the connection there is the owner of that car, co-owner of that car. Mike Curb was the owner of the King's car back in 1984. Here's Kasey Kahne getting back in the NASCAR Nationwide car for Richard Petty, motorsports driver in the Cup side, driving for Todd Braun in a Toyota here, the first of 4 starts in 2009.
Yeah, 4 starts. I think the interesting thing here, he is in a Toyota, and a lot of rumblings in the garage area and in the media about is Kasey Kahne going to be in a Toyota next year, maybe sooner. I mean, there's a lot of things that are being talked about. So he had a good first lap here. That was 8th quickest at a 50.78.
One thing's for sure, he's in a Toyota right now.
That's for sure.
Folks in the garage area yesterday told me that it may take Kasey a little while to get accustomed to getting back in a Nationwide car and the momentum it's required being in a Cup car. He's been out of a Nationwide car since the end of 2008. He said, but this car right here has a shot of being in the top 2 rows and probably a good shot at winning the race.
Kasey's really good at this racetrack. He's 4th quickest there at a 50.27.
So the predictions were indeed correct. He is in the first 2 rows thus far in qualifying. Kasey Kahne, the 7-time winner in Nationwide competition, putting a Toyota outside of row 2. Currently, Dave and Ragan atop the charts. Qualifying continuing here at Daytona on the racetrack, the 0-1, the 2006 Rookie of the Year for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, Donnie Neuenberger Jr. Driving for Johnny Davis, his Chevrolet. Danny, best finish in his career was a 5th at Charlotte back in October of 2006. This year he has finished 18th 3 times. That's his best finish in running all races thus far at Kentucky, Nashville, and Las Vegas. And he qualified very, very well here in February. Had a 7th overall qualifying spot.
He did, and ran real well. They had some high hopes coming here. I talked to the guys down there in the garage area. Felt like they would have a good fast car, but you know, he's sitting there 11th so far out of the 12. It looks like he's not going to get the qualifying run he's looking for. They did have to change engines yesterday, though, and evidently their good engine must have been the one that must not have had but one good engine.
Yeah, you know, certainly with teams like this, they put their best stuff in to come, and it doesn't take but just a little bit off in horsepower with these restrictor plate engines to make you be down quite a bit on the speed. You can see he moves up to the 11th spot there with a 51.14, just ahead of Brendan Gaughan.
Now, by changing engines, he will obviously start in the rear of the field, and that's the NASCAR rule and the 1-engine weekend rule, and he will go to the back. Now here is Stephen Wallace in the 66 car getting ready to go qualify. Yesterday in the final practice session, there was an incident coming out of turn 4 in the final minutes where the Stevens car came into contact with the rookie of Scott Lagasse Jr. Lagasse's car got the short end of the stick. He spins around, catches Tony Raines, catches the wall, and heavily damages his Toyota. Here's the viewpoint from Mike Bliss.
What little view there is there in the smoke. I tell you, that's just a helpless feeling. Mike Bliss did a great job. Listen to his spotter all the way, blowing it down, like he wasn't already doing that.
Yeah.
Scott Lagasse's car was damaged. They had to go to a backup car, and now Jamie is standing by with him.
And we're standing next to the backup car. Well, this is the 3rd time we've seen this happen. You crash in practice or qualifying, but the backup car treated you well. What do you expect for this?
Yeah, we've had some rough luck this year for sure, but the cool thing is these guys, Paul and the guys at CJM put together great cars. So He's actually, I'm pretty excited. This is a new build. We brought the Talladega car back because it was so good. But I think secretly Paul was wanting to see how this thing would run. So it'll be good today. It'll be just fine.
And the good news, Doc, they get to start where they qualified. Don't have to go to the back today.
That's right, Jamie. If you lose an engine, you have to go to a backup engine. You end up starting at the back of the pack. But I guess NASCAR figures if you lose the entire race car in a wreck and you get able to make it with a backup car out to qualify, you deserve to start where you qualify. Yeah, that's a little consolation when you lose a good car sometimes, but it's still a good thing for Scott Lagasse. But this 66 car, they were involved in that one incident we saw, but they also had an engine problem in the first practice session. So Stephen will also have to start in the back. Stephen has finished 14th or better in the last 4 races, so he is currently all the way up to 9th in the point standings. There is Trip Bruce, who came on board just 3 races ago, and I think we're already seeing the impact a veteran crew chief is having on this team.
I don't think there's any doubt that they're definitely a better team. And Stephen, after we talked with him yesterday, after that little incident, he was really happy and excited about the way his race car was driving. Even though he knew he was going to have to come from the back, you can do it with this aero package. So he was pretty excited about the prospects for his race tonight. Well, when you watch the replay, he was coming through those cars, and that's kind of what caused the wreck. He might have been coming a little faster than some of them thought he was. You wouldn't think a Wallace would be aggressive, would you? Oh. Stephen's best finish this year was 6th at Milwaukee. His career best finish in this series, back-to-back 5th place finishes at Richmond and Darlington back in 2007, or 8, I should say, last year. You can see he lost a little bit of time there in 3 and 4. It just shows you how good David Ragan's car was through that part of the racetrack. We've seen pretty much everybody losing speed to him there. Moves up to 7th spot, 50.56, and you see that's kind of the mean for a lot of cars, that 50.5 second bracket. Just a little either side of that, except for Ragan is the only one now that's in the below 50 second. Yeah, and you might want to know why would it be important for them to even qualify here and worry about how fast they went, but you still get to pick your pit with where you qualify, and you think, well, you got a 2.5 mile racetrack, you're bound to have big pit spaces and everything. These pit areas here to put these cars in, these boxes are not very big, and so you want to be able to pick and choose where you want to be and maybe try to get with somebody you think you might be drafting with throughout the night. Let's go down and visit with Kasey Kahne. Mike?
And Kasey's just gotten out of his car. Slowed down just a little bit from practice Thursday, but overall pretty solid lap. How pleased are you with it?
I'm happy with it. These guys do a really nice job at Braun Racing. I'm working with Stuart Cooper and this whole team for the first time, and it's been good. It's a good group of guys. So, you know, to qualify top 10, I think, McDonald's, great clips, everybody that's part of it, I'm excited.
You mentioned Stuart Cooper and the rest of the Braun guys, your first weekend with them. What's it like trying to build chemistry in your first weekend?
Well, Daytona is fairly simple. These guys showed up with a great car, great engine, and we just kind of tweaked on it yesterday. I wanted the front tires to be a little more aggressive, get it into the corner, work a little better. We made a couple small changes in practice, and that was it. So we're pretty much ready for tonight. They brought a great car, and this weekend's easy. We're going to do Atlanta, Bristol, Charlotte, and Texas, and those we'll have to put a lot of input and communicate with them, and hopefully there's where we'll make some ground and have some good races.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Well, Doc, he sounds pretty confident going into tonight.
As well he should be. Got a good race car, and obviously Kasey Kahne can get the job done. Watching Clint Bowyer right down the 29 car. Clint, this car he ran here in February, qualified 3rd, led 3rd, and most importantly, he led the most laps in this race back in February. So good race car, but a different time of the year. And this team needs a good race. This team is usually up front winning races. They haven't done what they traditionally do this year, and I'm sure Clint would like to get in Victory Lane. There's an unusual competition going on this team, DJ, with 3 different drivers, Clint Bowyer, Jeff Burton, and Stephen Light. It's get your name above the door competition, and it was coming all the way to this race here. And right now, Clint Bowyer, it's among those 3 drivers, whoever had the best average finish or most wins in the first half of the year got their name permanently above the door for the second half of the year. Now, Clint Bowyer, whose average finish for the first half is 10.8, that's better than Burton or Light. Finishes 24th or better, he gets his name above the door, and right now he may be a candidate for the pole. He is a candidate for the pole. He's a good 10th faster than David Ragan right now through 3 and 4, unless something happens drastic between here and start finish line. He's going to be on the pole. I didn't realize having your name above the door for the rest of the year was that much of an incentive. Richard might want to put a little more of those programs in place down there. On those cup cars, exactly. And he has done it. Oh, yeah. Wow. Nice. Boy, and that you talk about a team that needs a shot in the arm. This is one of them.
Pump your brakes, cycle your water. 40.
Pumping those brakes up.
180.701 miles per hour, and Clint Bowyer, who has also never won a restrictor plate race in nationwide competition. There are the starts and the top 10s, and right now Bowyer has the best average finish, and if he were to finish 24th or better tonight, he would win the competition. If he doesn't, it'll go to Jeff Burton, who's second right now. Let's go down to Jamie.
And the Braun cars have been pretty stout this weekend in practice so far, so how good is your car?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's definitely going to race better than qualify. We have a good bit of downforce on the car. We really built the car to race. Hopefully we can qualify good enough. I mean, qualifying obviously, as we know, here is not that important other than pit selection and hoping to get to the front before the big one. But yeah, I think we have a really good car. The Donald Jr. guys did a great job yesterday. Really happy with the car in practice, the way it turns, handles, drafts, all the way around the board.
Last weekend, one of the best runs we've seen all year. You were top 5, running up there second for a long time, and then very end, your teammates Scott Speed and you get together. You guys had some words. Any talk? Have you heard from him?
No, I haven't heard from him. Yeah, whatever. It's he wrecked us. It's unfortunate. He said it was because we slowed down. It's tough to reason with that.
All right, guys. Brian Vickers getting ready to roll out. Doc?
And the discussion afterwards among teammates was not overly amicable. A little frustration there on Brian Vickers' part, the former series champion who has run very, very well here in that car at Daytona. Here's the car that has the throwback paint scheme, the Richard Petty victory colors from 1984. Jason Keller. Jason has more starts in this series than anybody in the nationwide competition. His 474th career start, and in terms of winnings, he could approach the $13 million mark after the race here tonight.
That's a lot of money. I wonder what he did with all that.
I don't know.
I know what he did with it.
Yeah.
Spent it on those race cars.
Yeah. He finished 9th here in February. Led a few laps, and those were actually the first laps he'd ever led here at Daytona. Much as he's run, but he finished in the top 10 in both the restrictor plate races so far.
Got a good run going here. You can see he's tracking 6th so far.
That is a cool looking car.
It's
Man,
so
it brings
visible.
back a lot.
You can see that car. You pick it out of any kind of group. I can see why he stuck, the King stuck with that paint scheme for so long. Very recognizable. Good to see it again.
Probably everybody loves that paint scheme except for Kel Yarborough.
Yeah, maybe Pearson.
You may be right. Let's see what Jason Keller can do. 10th first time by, and he picks it up to 6th second time by. So DJ mentioned his best runs this year have come on the plate tracks. He is now 6th overall of the 15 cars that have qualified thus far. We invite you to join us at 7 o'clock Eastern time for a little NASCAR Now update information-wise on ESPN2. And, of course, NASCAR Now presented by 5 Hour Energy tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, sort of a pre-race edition, setting a stage for what's going to happen here in the Cup Series on Saturday night. And tonight, 7:30 Eastern time, live flag-to-flag coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series Subway Jalapeno 250, beginning with NASCAR Countdown and open-wheel action on the demanding road course up at Watkins Glen. Indy Racing League coverage beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. Let's go down where Mike is caught up with our provisional pole sitter.
And that's Clint Bowyer right now for the time being. How strong would you say that lap was?
Well, it's pretty uneventful, so I don't know about strong. I think it was, it's pretty fast. It's hot out. The Holiday Inn Chevrolet, it's the same race car we brought in February down here. And it was fast down there, so it was fast in practice, a little bit loose. Doug and all the guys worked, hard trying to get it drivable and handling good. And I think it's a legit lap. We didn't have to pull the fenders in or do any of the things that you have to. So, I feel like the car's got a lot of speed in it. It showed speed in February, and I'm excited for the race tonight.
Well, Doc, it may not end up on the pole, but it will start pretty close to the front, I would imagine.
And a great run for the reigning series champion Clint Bowyer here, possibly. Remember, he led the most laps in February and just didn't have enough oomph there at the end to be able to beat Tony Stewart. Here is the rookie Scott Lagasse Jr. We've chronicled his story from the practice yesterday where he was in the top 10 and had to go to a backup car. And they had a lot of questions about the backup car. I think we're going to get some of those answered here in a lap or two.
Yeah, he still felt confident that they would have a good car. The crew chief sounded like from Scott's conversation, thought they had a pretty strong backup.
Yeah, we were talking about Scott yesterday. Just as the accident was unfolding, about what a good job he's done this year. I think he doesn't have a ton of experience in these cars. He ran extremely well here in February, got caught up in an accident not of his making, and so I think he was really looking forward to coming back here. I know he would like to have a few more laps in the draft, or any laps in the draft with this car, but hopefully he'll do well with it tonight.
He was very good in the draft at Talladega. His best finish of the season came at Talladega, where he finished 8th and was the highest finishing rookie. He also has a 10th place finish at Nashville, the 2 races where he was the best rookie in the field.
Talked to Scott a few times. He really wants to do well at this, and he's trying to give as much feedback to his crew. He's trying to learn the feel of these cars and be able to help them as much as possible. And they don't have the most money of these teams out here. They have a good situation to where they're all learning kind of together, and hopefully they'll be able to stick together. And I think he has the talent to be able to do this and do well at it.
I love his ability and also love his great attitude toward being a part here of what they're trying to accomplish. 51.053. Picks it up about half a second time by. That puts him 13th of the 16 cars that have gone. Here's the 2003 Series champ, Brian Vickers, qualified on the outside front row at Talladega. Has always run well here, and I'm told that the team told me yesterday in the garage area this car that Vickers is driving has never finished worse than 6th at Daytona.
Well, these guys do have a great restrictor plate program. You look at these numbers: 7 top 5s, 20 top 10s. They have just a strong effort all the way around, really.
Yeah,
I mean, Todd Braun has put out a good product for quite a few years now.
And in the news category, it was mentioned this week that Bernie Lamar has been released and will no longer be driving, sharing this car with Brian Vickers. They told me in the garage that it will actually be David Rudiman in the car next week at Chicagoland. So Bernie Lamar, who had some pretty good runs in the car, being released, and they're going to have Rudiman in the car. Of course, they also have, we mentioned Kasey Kahne and some of those guys from Richard Petty Motorsports driving now in the 10 car.
Yeah, I think they decided to go the Cup driver mentality with this and put these guys in. They feel like that it helps their race team progress more because of the information that they get and the finishes that they can get there. And it does help attract sponsorship to their race team and gives their sponsors that opportunity to be associated there. So that's the direction that they decided to go, and certainly Brian Vickers does his job. It's always more pressure though when you get in a car and they say, well, this car's never finished worse than 6. So that's what you got to live up to. The car's here, you've got to do your job, buddy.
And they reminded him, by the way, that was him in February here. There's Trent Owens, a crew chief, the nephew of Richard Petty.
Brian Vickers is the youngest champion that we've ever had in this series. In 2003, won the championship.
Yeah, what a great run he made at winning that championship. He put on a charge and did everything he was supposed to do, and he looked like he'd been driving those cars for 20 years the way that he handled the last part of the season and got himself in position to win the championship.
It is hard to believe that he's still as young as he is. I mean, you think he's been around a long time. I mean, winning a championship in 2003, but still just 25 years of age and going strong. He's a Cup Series winner, full-time in the Cup ride, and running part-time here in the Nationwide Series.
He's been racing cars, though, a long time. His dad put him out there in late models. I remember I actually raced against him when he was 15 years old at one of the short track races, a few that I get to run every now and then down at Tri-County Speedway.
Yep. That lap puts him 10th.
Yeah, they told him it wouldn't qualify well, but it would race good, so that's not a bad at all qualifying effort for Brian Vickers, 10th of the 17 cars that have gone so far. We talk about young champions. How about young talents and race car drivers? The youngest winner in Cup history as of last weekend at 19 years, 1 month, and 4 days. Joey Logano getting set to qualify when we come back. Back at Daytona, qualifying ongoing, and there right now is the current or provisional pole-winning car. 29 car, Richard Childress Racing. Clint Bowyer, the reigning series champion, has run a 49.806 second lap to put that car right now on the pole. It is David Ragan outside row 1, then Harvick and Kenseth and Kasey Kahne in the top 5. Here's Tony Raines. He was involved in the incident down at turn 4 yesterday, and they got this car fixed. They beat it back out and worked overnight to get it ready, and now he's out to qualify.
Yeah, he tagged the wall pretty hard in that wreck, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't go to a backup car. I guess they just didn't have a car they felt like was as good as the car that they've got here.
That
Jamie?
car was actually 7th in speed at the time.
Jamie?
And Joey Logano going for a pretty impressive feat here, going for your 4th pole in a row. What do you think about the car? Is it capable?
We'll have to see. Our qualifying run wasn't that fast at all. We needed about a second or so with the Sport Clips Toyota. So we kind of just really focused on race trim. That's pretty much the only deal I really worry about here. So we'll have to see. I don't think we have a pole car at all, but I said that last week too, so you never know.
Dream come true for you, winning your first Cup race last weekend. Joey, what's it like coming back to the racetrack knowing that?
It's cool, you walk around, everyone's congratulating you and everything. A lot of cool things you get to do, after you win that no one really knows about. So all that little stuff, it means something. It's pretty neat.
Youngest driver to ever win a Cup Series race. Very impressive record, Doc.
And only the 2nd driver from Connecticut, the state of Connecticut, ever to win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. The other one was Jerry Nadeau, driving for Rick Hendrick. And there's the 34 car slowing down, and Tony Raines, it must have gotten it pretty close, Andy. They picked up the speed to 50.5. That's in the top 10.
They did a good job of fixing the car. That's a very respectable time.
Well, this guy going out next doesn't have sponsorship, and DJ, it boggles the mind. As good as Joe Nemechek has been over the years, he's a 2-time winner here. Front row Joe always puts this car at or near the front, and he's fielding his own team here in Nationwide and Cup, but has always gotten the job done on the super speedways.
Yeah, Joe really pays attention. We talked about earlier, Andy, that how much attention you paid, and of course Joe drove for you too. He might have learned some of that from you, but he's always been really good here. They work hard on their shock package and spring package, making everything work to make these cars go as fast as they possibly can. Just like to be able to see some sponsorship on that car for Joe. I know he and his family are putting everything into this, trying to make it work.
They are putting everything in it, and they don't, it's just so hard to compete against these teams in this series without having a sponsor on the car. But Joe's out there giving it the good try here.
Joe Nemechek is a 5-time pole winner here. No one has won any more poles at this place than he has. He's also a 2-time race winner. Back in 1998, Joe Nemechek able to come down and use the inside groove to take the checker flag. His mom Martha there emotional as she watches her son achieve a dream of winning in Daytona. And in July 2002, Nemechek did it from the pole and celebrated in victory lane. Let's see what front row Joe can do here, as he is the 19th car to go out to qualify.
His best races of the season have come at Daytona and Talladega. So that just shows the effort that they put forth here. Hopefully Joe can have a good solid qualifying run. We know that he can get the job done when it comes to drafting. He really understands that side of it, and you give him a fast race car, he'll have it at the front all night long.
It's got to be a helpless feeling, though, even with a veteran driver, and you have so much knowledge of super speedway racing, yet in qualifying there's not a lot you, the driver, can do.
Get it into high gear. That's about it. If you do that in a timely fashion, then the next thing you have to do is just hold it to the floor in qualifying. Even though the track is hot and slick right now, the cars still drive reasonably well at this time of day. It would be a much different situation at another racetrack trying to qualify in an impound situation in the middle of the afternoon. But it's not too bad here.
Good first lap, 50-70. That's going to put him up there. If he can get that normal pickup that we've seen from some of these other cars, if he could pick up that 7/10, we've seen some of them pick up, he could actually be, up there top two rows. Joe's a lot of fun to race with too. I just want to tell you, he drove for me for 2 years, and we had a lot of success together, and actually won one of the Cup races at Rockingham. And he's a winner. That's the thing I say about Joe. He is a winner. He doesn't accept anything else, and he works so hard at it. And it'd be great to see him find some sponsorship to put on this car.
He does more with less than arguably anybody else in the garage area. They were bringing this Nationwide car to the track with 2 people plus the truck driver working on the race car, and they had 4 people working on the Cup car over in the Cup garage.
It's definitely a skeleton crew.
And making the most of it, he puts it not on the front row, but he can see it from where he is. 5th right now for Joe Nemechek. Good job for the Lakeland, Florida native. 50.269. And Joe just over 179 miles per hour. Back with more in a moment. Just about halfway through qualifying here at Daytona, and this is a young man, Chase Austin, out to try to get his first start here on the big oval at Daytona. 19-year-old former development driver for Hendrick Motorsports and for Rusty Wallace Incorporated, has made one start in the series, that coming at Memphis a couple of years ago.
The Hendrick development driver, and he drove 13 races actually for Rusty Wallace in the Camping World East Series in 2007.
Boy, it's so hard when you come up to the ranks here, DJ, as a young driver, given the fact that there's limited testing, or no testing, I should say, in the economy. Being able just to get some lap time and seat time now is extremely difficult.
Yeah, just trying to get yourself in a reasonable situation with a team that might have some money and be able to run, so you can get that experience. Yeah, you don't have that testing to rely on. You just you're kind of baptism by fire now. They throw you in and tell you to go qualify and make the race, and then, oh yeah, you got to drive it in the race too. We haven't tested it a whole lot, but here's what you got. And so these young guys are, it's a difficult time right now for them to try to make their way up the ranks.
Another pretty good first lap. No, that was second, I'm sorry, second lap, but puts him 15th.
So again, the top 30 cars in owners' points are guaranteed a spot. So Chase Austin, will be in the race tonight. Only the final 16 drivers getting in on time and speed. Here's the 20 car, and are they having some issues down there with the Joey Logano ride?
See Dave Rogers sticking his head in the window here. Don't know exactly what's going on.
It's only been to Daytona once. That was back in February when he qualified 8th and was running 5th in the last lap and bounced it off the wall and cut a tire.
They're moving this 24 car around the 20. Going to let him go out there and make a lap.
And while they figure out what's going on with the 20 car, we'll take a break here from our coverage of qualifying from Daytona. It is Bowyer, Ragan, Harvick, Kenseth, and Nemechek, the top 5. Work ongoing on Joey Logano's car. He was the next car to go out to qualify. Obviously, there's an issue there. And let's find out what it is. Jamie?
Well, Doc, I just talked to Dave Rogers, the crew chief. You see the team working on it. What he told me is with the heat, the windshield has actually expanded, and what they call it is bowing out. So those clips right here, the windshield actually popped up about a 1/16 of an inch. So they made the team put it back down. For more on this, let's go to our own Tim Brewer in the Craftsman Tech Garage.
We do not have Tim's mic. We'll try to get that rectified so we can explain to you what Jamie was showing. But obviously it is a momentary pause here in Joey Logano's efforts to go out and qualify. Eric McClure on the racetrack in the 24 car.
Andy, maybe you can explain why they wouldn't let them go out like that.
Well, I think there's a lot of different things that they control of aero-wise, and they don't. They probably thought that might be an advantage, but that's definitely an issue in this heat. That those windshields coming up like that they grow tremendously under this heat, and they have to go somewhere. So sometimes they'll pop up in the center. I've had them pop up a ½ inch before.
Yeah, but the team wasn't really caring if it did that, right?
Well, I mean, it could have been an advantage, absolutely, because there's a fin on the roof, and that's why NASCAR says, wait, we're not going to let you go out till you get it down.
Yeah.
So you're saying a bowed windshield is your friend at Daytona?
It could be. I mean, yeah, just small things because of these packages, and they're so closely monitored that it only takes just a little bit of something to deflect that air across the roof, miss that roof flap there, the spoiler part there, and then miss the spoiler on the rear of the car.
Yeah, that fin that you see on the roof of that car, that fin right there is a device they put on there that puts a ton of drag on the cars, and they put them on all the cars. And you can do a lot of things to try to skirt that rule, and one of those things would be maybe to mess with that windshield. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, Andy, you're exactly right, because, folks, this is ideal right here as far as the A-post itself. But like Andy says, when that windshield bows up right in this area right here, just like this car's done, it actually puts the air over the roof deflector. And if you can cheat that roof deflector, Andy, the car's going to run a lot quicker.
I'd never do that. Unless I got a chance to. But in this case right here with the 20 car, that was not intentional. I really have seen those windshields bow a lot under this kind of heat, and it's extremely hot out there right now.
Joey Logano, what a week it has been for this young man from Connecticut. 1 week ago, he became the youngest winner with a little help from the weather, but he had to be in position, and it was a great call by Scott Zipadelli, or Greg Zipadelli there, to be able to bring him in for fuel and keep him out when the weather moved in, and he was declared the winner. 19 years, 1 month and 4 days, youngest winner in NASCAR Sprint Cup history, and the last 3 times he's been in a nationwide car, he has sat on the pole.
That's pretty impressive right there, 3 in a row. Didn't sound like from his conversation he thought he had a shot at this one, though.
But, you know, I like that, you know, where he started, but I like where he's finished there even better in those races, too. Pretty good job.
Yeah, second, first, and second. Not bad when you got a teammate like Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards and guys in the field. Let's see what he can do here at Daytona. We mentioned he's only been here once. That was back in February, and had trouble on the final lap of the race after qualifying 8th to start the day.
Yeah, you know, I give crew chiefs a hard time sometimes about what they do, but it just shows how invaluable a good crew chief is. They took a situation in that race last week, and where they had a flat tire, they had to come in, put them at the back, and then they just kept playing strategy throughout the day. And you have to give them credit, Andy, and that's sometimes you have to really fly by the seat of your pants sometimes and try to make something that looked like was going to be a terrible day and make something out of it.
Zippy is a winning crew chief, no doubt, and he knows a lot more than one way to win one of these races, and he never feels like he's out of it until the very end.
Yeah, and that's not taken away from the job that Joey did, too. He obviously had to go drive the race car and play into the factor of saving fuel and getting everything done. So congratulations to that entire race team for a great job.
That's a winning crew chief right there, Dave Rogers. Incredible results that they get out of these cars. The 18 and the 20 both work very close together, but Dave is crew chief on this 20 car.
Yeah, they've won twice this year at Nashville and Kentucky, and this 20 car won 9 races in 2008, including this race here a year ago with Denny Hamlin driving.
Just to me, I can't quite figure out why they would be so far off on speed. You heard Dave or a couple of them say earlier that they thought they might even be a second off of what it was going to take to get the pole, and they
shut it down, pump up your brakes.
They are about 7/10 off the pole right there with that lap in 9th spot, just behind their teammate Kyle Busch.
It makes you wonder if they went a little different route and felt like that they needed a little bit more downforce with this racetrack losing even more grip, and obviously with the temperatures being as hot as they have been here recently in Daytona, that they felt like they needed a little more downforce and were going to take the hit in qualifying.
Carl Edwards getting set to roll for his qualifying effort, and we mentioned that he's in pretty good company. Neither he nor last year's champion, Clint Bowyer, have ever won a NASCAR Nationwide Series plate race here. And obviously, but he has had success here in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. In fact, his first major Daytona win came here back in 2004 in a truck.
That was one of those incredible races we've had at Daytona. I remember Carl actually avoiding a crash going down pit road and keeping his car alive, his truck alive to win this race. Look at that, he's happy.
I think it doesn't mean a lot to win at Daytona, regardless of what you're driving.
And he has gotten closer and closer. In fact, the last 2 races we have run here, Carl Edwards has been passed for the win last July with 16 laps to go, and this past February with 10 laps to go. So he's gotten closer.
We have a Chevy on the pole. We talked about, and Ford's never won a pole here at this racetrack. This is probably one of the cars that would have a shot at it because his teammate David Ragan is now second. You'd think he would have a pretty fast car.
In the final practice, he was 7th overall, and he ran laps at just over 49.5 seconds. If he can come even close to that, of course, that was later in the day, and it wasn't nearly as hot.
Well, the other thing, too, is those practice times are all in the draft. A lot of cars down there did not make mock qualifying runs, so they really don't even know how fast their car is going to be until they make these qualifying runs. Spend all their time in that drafting mode and trying to get their cars handling good.
He came close here in February. He'd like to improve that by 1 position if he can do it. I remember
just watching the video we were showing during practice yesterday, that finish, and how he was just sawing the wheel coming to the finish line through the tri-oval, just doing everything he could to try to get to Tony Stewart.
His first lap's just a couple of tenths off of his teammate David Ragan's first lap, which Ragan is second so far. So doesn't look like Carl is going to be a threat for the pole, but he's going to start up front. He's tracking 5th so far down the backstretch.
A year ago, after 16 races, Carl Edwards was 4th in the point standings, 225 points out of 1st. Ended up finishing just 21 points shy of a championship. Coming into this year after 16 races, he is 2nd in the points, 162 back of Kyle Busch. Still has they have the same number of wins he had a year ago. He had his first victory last year at Milwaukee and duplicated that here in 2009.
And he does bring it home 5th, 50-24.
So 3 Roush Fenway cars in the top 5 with Ragan 2nd, Kenseth and Edwards 4th and 5th. NASCAR Now coming your way tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. We'll update some of the news from the garage area here at Daytona. Of course, NASCAR Now presented by 5 Hour Energy tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, setting the stage for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race here in Daytona. And our live flag-to-flag coverage tonight, the Jalapeno 250 at Daytona, 7:30 Eastern time, and IndyCar action from Watkins Glen on Sunday on ABC at 1 o'clock. Halfway home in qualifying here at Daytona. We've had 23 cars go of the 46 that we have in line, and the next car to go will be appropriately the number 23 car on the racetrack, and that is Robert Richardson Jr. out of McKinney, Texas. And he again is one of the drivers in the top 30 in owners points that is guaranteed a starting spot here tonight.
See, right now he's tracking at about the 16th spot.
Robert was very successful as an athlete growing up. A lot of drivers were athletes in high school and early years of college. He was a quarterback at SMU for the Ponies down there, and decided after college he wanted to continue his career driving in the short tracks of Texas and then down the super speedways. Let's go down to Jamie.
Well, Doc, I'm with Michael Annett, and you know, he actually won an ARCA race here in, what was it, February of 2008, but you ran up front the whole time. What was that all about, and how different is your nationwide car?
Well, yeah, about a year ago we came here and won that race, and this place just, it kind of seemed easy. You know, we started up front, and we just ran up front the whole time, and really learned what the draft was all about. So when we came here, you know, this February, you kind of got a taste of what this place was really like. But we were pretty good in practice yesterday. The Ventrella Pilot Travel Centers Toyota, you know, it handled really good on old tires. So we're looking forward to tonight. And these guys, they got all kinds of notes on the steering wheel saying don't hit the brakes, go fast, turn left. So we should be all right in qualifying. I shouldn't forget to do anything.
All these reminders. He was top 10 yesterday. Let's go over to Mike with Carl Edwards.
And Carl posting a pretty strong time, top 5. Was that what you were expecting?
That's what I was hoping for. You know, hopefully it stands up. This race, I think, is going to be somewhat about how fast the car will go, and then hopefully it'll come into, you know, turn into a handling race as well. And I think this Save-A-Lot Fusion has a pretty good balance. It's fast enough, but it handles pretty well in traffic. And if the track does get really slick tonight, I think we got a great race car.
And if the track does get slick, you'll be working that wheel a little bit, but you'll be doing it in pain. Let's take a quick look at Carl's hands. They look a little bit swollen. What happened?
Well, I'm just an idiot. I was changing the porch light at my house before I left. It was burnt out, and I thought, like, you know, got to have the porch light while I'm gone. So I'm up there changing the light, and there's this wasp, and it stung my right hand, and everybody got a big kick out of that. And so I only needed about a quarter more turn on that bulb for it to be in there. So I stuck my left hand up there, and I went for it, and it got my left hand too. So you got to be careful with those wasps.
But, Doc, if there's one thing that speaks of, it's definitely Carl's determination. He got the job done.
Yeah, it's not Daytona on the high banks that's dangerous. It's changing those light bulbs on the porch that can get you. How about that for danger? Poor Carl. Here's Brad Keselowski in the 88 car. And you talk about a driver who's been on fire in the last month and a half in this series, and also hasn't done a bad job driving on an interim basis, or I should say in a limited basis, in the NASCAR Sprint Cup car.
Yeah, he's been very impressive with a lot of top 5 finishes building up here. He had a really tough start to the season points-wise, and so that's got him behind. But he's still battling, just waiting for those first 2 guys to slip a little bit. And this is exactly the type of race that he knows something like that could happen, because we have, you know, the big wrecks sometimes happen, and he could capitalize there.
I talked to him down in the garage yesterday. He's extremely confident here. He said he had a great race car, good handling car. See, now he's tracking 4th. He's going to qualify up front, so he'll have a great shot here tonight.
He did not have a top 10 finish in the first 4 races of the year, and since that time, in the last 12 races, he's had 11 top 10 finishes and 9 top 5s to come all the way to 3rd in the points, just 81 points back of Carl Edwards. He is 3rd overall with that 2nd lap, so he will be able to see the front. We talk about his Cup escapades. How about Talladega driving for James Finch in the final lap? And watch the 09 car. That is Keselowski pushing Carl Edwards. And little nudge there as Carl goes sailing. But Keselowski able to come down and get his very first NASCAR Sprint Cup victory. 3 top 10s and 5 Sprint Cup starts thus far in 2009. Another one of the series veterans, Mike Bliss, on the racetrack, just completing his qualifying run. He's been by the first time and on lap number 2, trying to get his car down possibly in the top 10. He's 21st on lap 1 at 50.98 seconds.
He's lucky just to be making this qualifying run with this car after that close call he had yesterday in that practice session.
Yeah, that's a great job avoiding that. You know, slamming on the brakes at 180 some miles an hour, you know, is not. I mean, the car tends to want, when you hit the brakes like that, it really wants to veer to the right quickly. So he kept it out of the wall. He got it slowed down to be able to miss the car in front of him. Couldn't see, didn't know exactly what he was missing, but that was just a terrific job Mike Bliss did. And he's had a good year. 5 top 10 finishes in the last 7 races.
Got that win.
He's a former pole sitter here at Daytona, won the pole in 2004, 10 trips here. He's got 1 top 5 finish. And of course he won, as you mentioned, at Charlotte back early in the year when the rains came just 30 laps before the checkered flag. He will clock in 15th overall. Let's go down and visit with Mike Wallace. Jamie.
And Mike Wallace having a little bit of fun out here. You see the all-white fire suit, no sponsors on it, so obviously a new sponsor brought on for this race to help you guys get here.
We're really excited about RC Cola coming on board. They've also got Venom Energy drink on Danny O'Quinn's car. So everybody a choice beverage. It's Daytona, you know, they all want to be involved in it. We're excited. I think the car run really well, and we'll go from there. We had a little incident in practice yesterday. That thing popped out of gear on us, so we've had to go through the whole drivetrain and everything, but you know, I was listening to broadcasts, and Dale and Andy and Jerry are sitting up there in a nice cool. And I would like to congratulate Ned Jarrett on being nominated to the Hall of Fame and all the other 24, 25 total inductees. But that's great, and you know, excited. Might pull us off another win here tonight.
All right, he's looking very clean. He's going to take his sponsor, get in the car, Doc, and try to put it in the show.
And we will have an onboard camera, the RC Cola onboard camera tonight during our coverage of the Subway Jalapeno 250.
Yeah, it's nice to know he's worried about us up here and make sure we're comfortable.
Yeah.
Here is Michael Annett in the 15 car going out to qualify. We talked about the impressive rookie class. Michael, his best qualifying came in and finish this year came at Kentucky just a couple of weeks ago, qualified 4th and finished 7th.
And he's had 3 top 20 finishes the last 5 races, so starting to get this thing turned around a little bit. Mike Hillman Sr. coming on board, I think, has made a big difference, and starting to get this thing turned around a little bit.
Yeah, I think that experience there has really helped him, and watched him yesterday in practice running in the draft. He was doing a really good job. It seems to have a fast car and was doing a really good job of maneuvering in and out of cars, making passes. So he could be someone we watch tonight and talk about, you know, you talk about possible upsets, because we talk about how many times things, you know, can happen in this type of a race. Michael Annett could be someone we're talking about at the end of the race tonight.
And you heard Jamie already mention that he is a winner here in the past. He won the 2008 ARCA race here back in February a year ago. $26 cars have gone out to qualify. We've got just a few more, and then we'll begin our time and speed, our go or go homers. And Michael Annett, first time by, is 21st overall.
That's actually a pretty good first lap, 50.85. He picks up that 6 to 7 tenths. That's going to get him a pretty good starting spot tonight.
Yeah, he was pretty far up the racetrack on that first lap, so you expect him to pick up quite a bit here on this second lap, and tracking in the top 10 down the backstretch, now moving up to 7th.
Michael, a former professional hockey player. He played for the Waterloo Blackhawks. He left hockey in 2004 and thought that racing wouldn't be nearly as violent as playing on the ice.
I talked to his mom here back at Darlington, actually, and talked about how she used to chase Michael around all these travel tournaments that they played in hockey, and here she is now chasing around all these racetracks. So he's quite the athlete.
Yeah, great qualifying effort. That's second lap will put him 6th right now.
This team has really come on the last few weeks now. We'll invite you to join us and see how Michael, Annett, and others will do tonight with our live flag-to-flag coverage. 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN, the Subway Jalapeno 250. We're at halfway for the 2009 NASCAR Nationwide season. And, of course, last year it was the Joe Gibbs cars that were so good. We'll see how Clint Bowyer, David Ragan, Kevin Harvick, and Brad Keselowski right now signing autographs. He right now showing 4th overall on the speed charts. NASCAR Nationwide Series veteran Scott Wimmer on the racetrack in the 40 car, and this may be a bit of a surprise because he was very good in the final practice yesterday.
That can be deceiving, though. All those times in practice we're drafting, and you get such a pull with this aero package these cars have. You can be behind, say, a lead group and be catching them and really put up a lap on the board that you can't really back up in qualifying because you're one car on the racetrack all by yourself, and it's just you and the wind and the engine and the body.
Yeah. He does have a guaranteed spot in the race, so that's a good thing. He sees his car can run fast if he gets in the right situation, but probably just like you said, Andy, yesterday he was catching the pack, had a good push from behind, and was able to put up a good number.
Best finish of the year, 9th at Darlington, driving the 5 car on that day for Junior Motorsports.
Definitely, he's the slowest one that's qualified so far, so he's not going to be happy with that qualifying time.
So obviously not, as you talked about, the times somewhat deceptive with all the drafting help they get in the final practice session. Let's go down where Mike is caught up with our 4th place qualifier.
And that's Brad Keselowski. A real solid qualifying lap. You now have an idea what you have for the race. How good do you feel about your chances tonight?
Real good. You know, I really didn't think we were going to qualify that strong, so I feel even better about it now. Klondike Chevrolet, same car we had in the spring and at Talladega as well. And this car's been fast, but I got real loose and I put it in the fence in the race. So we came back, put a little bit of handling in it, and took some speed out, and it's still fast. So I'm very happy with our car, and can't wait to get running, and can't wait to get back in the air conditioning, eat me one of these Klondike bars, and cool off too.
Yeah, I can't blame you. We're all getting about sunstroked out here right now. You proved to the world back this spring that you know how to win a restrictor plate race when you captured the checkers at Talladega in the Cup Series race. How much does that confidence carry over to Daytona this week?
Well, Talladega and Daytona are different with the handling aspect, but you know, hopefully I'll get a little more help. That's probably the biggest thing, is being able to get a little more help from your competitors and to help push you through the pack when you need to get to there. Because you know, at some point you're not going to be at the front of the pack. You're going to be in the middle or towards the back through pitch strategy or whatever it may be, and you're going to need that help. And so hopefully that win at Talladega will transpire and give me some help.
One thing he's going to go do right now, Doc, he's going to eat that Klondike bar. I wonder if he could bring some up to the booth and share them with Jamie and I.
Yeah, we would love that as well. What would you do for a Klondike bar, huh?
Yeah, just hold ours for a little bit longer there, Mike. Keep them cold.
Here's the 81 car, Patrick. His nickname, Mr. Showtime Sheltra, out of Indiantown, Florida, 23 years of age. He ran 2 nationwide races in 2008 at Phoenix and Homestead in the finale, and now getting in the McDowell Motorsports Dodge, which, by the way, was the highest qualifying and highest finishing Dodge here back in February.
It's just amazing that he's even here in racing.
Yeah, his day in February, not in this race, but in the ARCA race we're going to show you in just a moment, was a day that when I talked to him in the garage here, he says he's going to try somehow over the years to forget. First lap, 51.087 seconds, puts him 25th. I think this car with DJ Kennington in it qualified 17th here in February.
Yeah, it's tracking a little better here on the second lap. A little better than mid-pack at 15th. Time being, see how he gets through turns 3 and 4.
See him holding that car right on the yellow line.
Yeah. You can see the front end bouncing there and those bumps coming out of turn 4 right on the bottom of the track.
And he picks it up to 15th overall, 50.573 seconds. We talked about his frightening February in the ARCA race, folks. He was running third with 6 laps to go, coming out of turn 4, and he gets turned. That's him in the 60 car. Now watch him go across the racetrack, hits the wall, thinks he's okay. Now 8 seconds later, boom, he gets hit in the door, and obviously is hospitalized. Back here at Daytona, the 28-year-old Matt Carter finishing up his qualifying run. If the name sounds familiar, it should be. He is the son of legendary crew chief and later car owner Travis Carter.
Yeah, you know who finished second in that 1984 race where Richard Petty won his 200th race?
Well, we saw that. It had to be Cale Yarborough, right?
Well, it's not Cale Yarborough.
That's right. They were racing to the caution flag.
That's right. They had another lap to go. Cale actually came down pit road thinking the race was over because of the, the climatic finish there, and Harry Gaughan actually came home second. That's the crew chief on that car was Travis Carter, Matt Carter's dad.
And we'll see how Matt will do. He has a guaranteed starting spot, and we invite you to join us for NASCAR Now, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, ESPN2, updating all the information in and around the garage area. And of course, NASCAR Now presented by 5 Hour Energy, the Saturday morning edition, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, setting the stage for the NASCAR Sprint Cup event. Of course, our live coverage tonight is 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN with a Subway Jalapeno 250. Right now it is Clint Bowyer who will lead them down to the green flag. And IndyCar action coming your way from Watkins Glen, New York, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Scott Goodyear, Marty Reed, and all the gang on ABC. Well, Matthew Carter was the last car to get in by virtue of owners' points, and now these next 16 cars, starting with the 0-4 of Curtis Davis, will have to get in by virtue of speed, and again, only 13 of these 16 will make it. Yesterday, our Andy Petrie was in the garage area during the final practice following the Bobby Gerhart story, and now Jamie is with us.
And it continues here. You know, he's kind of a legend here in the ARCA series. 5 of your 6 wins came at this track. What's it like to be here in a nationwide car?
Always excited to come to Daytona. Proud to say even in July. But we ran a couple cup races here early in my career, and that started the desire to try to come back here and be good, and we just wanted to try to find a place to be real competitive. The ARCA series did that for us, and right now, anytime I get a chance to race here at the beach, I'm coming.
Last time we saw you in a car was Talladega. You had a huge wreck. You were sitting inside your hauler when we talked to you. What drives you to keep coming back and keep racing these plate races?
Well, that just kind of comes with the game. I never saw that coming, so it's pretty easy to just put it aside. It's really what you just got to do. The hardest thing's putting these cars back together and getting them as good as they were. We did a real good job there. Unfortunately, we kind of ran out of time with this thing, and I think we're getting caught up. Hopefully, we made all the right choices this morning.
Little added pressure. It's all about trying to qualify and get in the race tonight, Doc.
It indeed is. Remember, he's got to get in on time and speed, and we remember the rain showers typically in Daytona on the afternoon showers that move across, and we are told some rain showers are on their way. So these guys are not only racing to get in the field, they're racing to get qualifying in here to get all these cars through their 2 laps of qualifying.
It takes a long time to qualify cars here because they run 2 laps, and long, big racetrack takes a long time to get up to speed. So it'll be close getting this thing done. It looks like if this shower's pushing on us.
Curtis Davis, good lap going here. First lap was pretty sporty. It was 24th quickest. You can see he's tracking 11th right now.
I talked to him in the garage. He says, I'm going to show you something here. And he's doing it right there, 11th spot. Good job.
Good job for Johnny Davis, Johnny announced 2 weeks ago that he was going to run 3 cars for the remainder of the 2009 season. So Johnny Davis has been working really hard to be a full-time owner, supporting the series, and now expanding his operation to a 3rd car.
He's one of the hardest working owners in that garage area. Every time I go down there, I can hardly even get a chance to talk to him because he's so busy directing traffic and keeping these cars going.
So Curtis Davis, the first of 16 cars that'll have to get it on time and speed. You saw Bobby Gerhart a moment ago. He'll be he's listed as the 43rd car to go out. The final 4 cars, by the way, at the end of qualifying will be Bobby Gerhart, Morgan Shepherd, Kerry Earnhardt, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be the final car to make an attempt to qualify.
So there'll be some drama still left to see who's going to get this pole position, with Junior being the last car out.
There's sliced bread signing a few autographs for the fans. The youngest winner in this series history a year ago at Kentucky at 21 years and 3 weeks. And, of course, the youngest winner in Sprint Cup history last week in New Hampshire at 19 years and a month.
Talk about living the dream. That kid's doing it.
He is definitely doing it.
Here's the 83 car, John Borneman III, going out to make his qualifying attempt.
As we said at the top of the show, these guys are a little bit different agenda than what we've seen out of the first 30 qualifiers. They have more of a qualifying package. Their goal is to make sure that they're in the race, and then they'll worry about having to undo some of those things at an early time in the race.
Yeah, one of the things that a lot of cars were doing, especially these cars that have to make it on speed, were doing in practice yesterday was to see just how fast is this car. Do we have to do anything to the car to make it fast enough to qualify, or can we just run our race setup and not try to compromise it? And still get in the field.
And you talk about those things, Andy. Exactly what might they be doing that would make their cars go faster that the guys in the top 30 didn't take a chance?
There's so many things. I mean, we heard, I can't remember who it was, one of the top cars said that they didn't even have to pull their fenders in, which that does. You pull the front fenders in, it does make the car run faster. It'll make it push, though, during the race. You can run lightweight oils and things in the transmission. You can take off the, like say, the power steering belts. A lot of things that you can do that would really compromise your racing efforts, but would make the car run faster for 2 laps.
John Borneman's first lap is 51.166, and he again the second car of the Go-Homers that have to get in. He is slower than the 0.4 time of Curtis Davis. Of course, Curtis Davis was 11th overall. Borneman trying to qualify for the 3rd time here in 2009. He raced at Phoenix, where he finished 30th, and he finished 26th at Talladega.
Yeah, you can see he was tracking along pretty good there and started to lose some time. I don't know if they got too much tape on that car and it could slow it down. It's pretty easy to do if you get that temperature up too high.
Yeah, you try to get too much out of that tape, especially as hot as it is. It's so hot out there today that once you get to a certain temperature with these cars, they actually do lose power.
That'll put him 23rd, and that's not really what he's after. It's more about how he's going to qualify versus these other cars that have to make it on time.
So 32 of the 46 cars have taken time, and right now it is reigning series champion Clint Bowyer, who is the provisional pole sitter here at Daytona. Qualifying ongoing here at Daytona. Next car on the racetrack is the car that's owned by Jimmy Smut Means, Donnie Neuenberger out of Brandywine, Maryland, trying to get this car qualified in the field. Jimmy Means has been a car owner and a race car driver for a lot of years. In fact, DJ, I think one of your first trips here, you were driving for Jimmy.
Yeah, my second Cup start ever was in that 1984 race that Richard Petty won for his 200th victory. I was going to show y'all on that video earlier. I was kind of helping the King get that win because I was the car he was about to lap again right in front of him. So he was drafting off me. I'm not sure how much drafting help he was getting from my car.
So you're responsible for that 200 victory.
Yeah, very small way. As in none, no.
Hey, check
but it was
out.
my second start.
Check this out, guys. He's tracking 7th. Donnie Neuenberger got a great lap going right here down the backstretch. And this could be one of those cars that has really got a qualifying setup because it's looking good so far.
And it only takes a couple of those things to really make a huge difference in getting a little bit of speed out of these cars, those things that you were talking about that these guys could do, Andy.
And it's very tempting even for those top guys to do some of those things to run faster because, you know, qualifying's a competition in itself. You want to win it too, but you just don't want to compromise your effort in the race. But, man, that's a great qualifying run.
How about that? 11th for Donnie Neuenberger. Great effort. 50.357. That would be a career best start in NASCAR Nationwide Series racing in his 32 starts. All right, let's go back and see exactly what kind of factor you were, DJ. Now, where are you?
I'm right there in front of the King in the white and blue car.
I got you.
I'm doing my best to help him, trying to run as fast as I can where you get a little draft there. His beating off a Kale wasn't what got him there. It was just
had you just come off pit road, or was that your speed?
That was it. That's what we were doing. That's all that we had.
Let's go down to Mike Massaro. Mike.
And catching up now with Curtis Davis, one of the go or go home guys. You posted a real solid lap for a moment there. It was 11th on the board. You've just been bumped down once, but This has to feel pretty good. How much of a relief is it to post a number like that?
Well, it's a big relief, you know, and I call it the Uncle Gene's dream machine. You know, we built this car last year in the off season, me and my dad and Jeff Spraker, and come down here and qualified 12th with it, and it's been sitting underneath the cover, and we kind of knocked the dust off of it, and Uncle Gene's the car owner, and I'm the driver, and brought Gary Cogswell with me, and we got her tuned up for all the Gaffney Peach fans back there in South Carolina, and it's humid and hot, and I feel like I've been breakdancing in the club or something. I'm just dripping with sweat, but you know, I've been working a lot of hours, me and Gary, and trying to put this deal together to come down here and run. We've run really well at the plate races in the past, and with the new double file restarts and the way everything is, it's going to be exciting for the fans, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I want to say hello to my chair bearer back home. You know, I've not been able to spend much time with her with working on a lot of these hours on the race cars and all, but I'll be coming home soon.
All right, you teased us a little bit. You want to show us some of your breakdancing moves?
I'll tell you what, I hadn't been at the club in so long. I don't know if I could get a little bit going for the camera, but whew, it's hot, and I'm glad that qualifying lap's over.
You can see the excitement, Doc. Hey, part of the story is, you mentioned, he only has 3 crew members here, and that includes him so far this week, and he's flying in a pit crew tonight.
Wow, Mike, you know, Carl Edwards has somersaults, and Kyle Busch has the obligatory bow, and I think Curtis gets that first win. We're going to have breakdancing.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to see him win his first race.
Here's David Gilliland, a former Daytona 500 pole sitter, driving the 42 car here in the Nationwide Series. Talking about Cinderella stories, his was one, remember, 2 years ago when he won at Kentucky?
Check this out here. He's faster than Neuenberger yet. I mean, he's tracking actually 3rd overall. It's another great qualifying run. Gilliland's going to have a great starting spot here.
The Evander Holyfield car, there is the real deal. Evander Holyfield watching his car qualify, and Evander might get pretty pumped up about that. How about that 5th overall?
Good run.
Well, he's definitely in the race.
Yes, sirree. Vander says, yeah, I think we got something for him.
And they just might.
P5 right now. Good job, guys. Man, this thing drove good too, Tim. Coming off the bottom of these corners. Ton of front grip, man. Well, all the changes we did.
And he's talking about Tim Weiss, the veteran crew chief, and he's an unsung hero with this team.
He sounds like he's very, very confident. And that's good news. The crew chief likes to hear that. And Tim Weiss has been around a long time and knows how to make them go fast, evidently.
Exactly. David Gilliland can get it done on these restrictor plate tracks, too. So be interesting to see their progress tonight.
He's locked in for sure.
Here's another Keselowski. This is Brian Keselowski, the older brother of Brad. And this is a family-run team, whereas Brad drives for Junior Motorsports. Brian, the crew chief, is Bob Keselowski, the dad. They got Ron, the uncle, working on the race car.
These guys are working hard to get themselves in that top 30 in owners' points. They are only 7 points out of that coming into this race tonight.
Now we are comparing his lap to Donnie Neuenberger, who right now is the fastest of the go-or-go homers that is not locked in.
Yeah, we start locking in cars now because as we see, David Gilliland's already locked himself in, and that's why we're tracking Neuenberger, because if Brian Keselowski could beat that time that's put up by the 52 car, he would lock himself in. If not, then it would lock in Donnie Neuenberger, or lock in Donnie Neuenberger in 12th spot so far.
Only 3 cars will not make it. 46 are here. 43 will start tonight.
Brian's been, he does this every week, you know, and he has to go out there and make the laps. Obviously here, it's a little bit easier because you know that you have to have the car. You just have to go out and hold it wide open. But he has qualified for the last 12 races, and that's what's helped get him in this position of almost in that top 30.
Yeah, he just needs a couple of good finishes to put him over the hump and get him in there where he doesn't have to worry about qualifying day, and then he can really work on his car for the race and do even better on race day.
We might mention that in this series there is a sealed engine rule that does not apply to restrictor plate races like Daytona and Talladega, so they get to run a fresh engine at these plate tracks. Brian right now 34th of the 35 cars that have gone out. Again, that is his first lap. We'll see if he can pick that up. He's got to beat a 50.357 second lap.
I don't think that's going to happen for him, so he's going to have some anxious moments here waiting as we go through some of the other qualifiers.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not locked out of the race yet. It's just the fact that he's not locked in yet, and that does not lock in Donnie Neuenberger. And Brad, like you said, will have to wait and see what these other guys run before he knows he's in or not.
He picked it up, but not nearly enough. So he's still going to have, as you said, Andy, going to have to watch and wait and see what happens here over the next dozen or so cars that are going to qualify. Well, we invite you to join us tonight for coverage 7:30 Eastern Time. NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona. And remember, folks, for the first time in series history, we've got double file restarts, shootout style. And it'll all start with our NASCAR countdown. Alan Bestwick, Brad Daugherty, and the boys, they're probably down there getting ready right now. I'm sure Brad is eating as we speak, getting set for the shows tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time. Qualifying continuing here at Daytona. We've had 35 of the 46 cars go thus far. It is Clint Bowyer, the 2008 Series champion atop the speed charts. David Ragan, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, David Gaughan, who just qualified a moment ago in a Dodge, is fifth. We'll talk to David Gaughan here momentarily. Let's watch Mark Green's qualifying effort. The two cars that have been locked in of the guys that must make it on time and speed right now are the 42 of Gaughan and the 52, of course, of Donnie Neuenberger.
A pretty good first lap there for Mark Green, 50.85. Pretty decent pickup here. He could find himself locked in the show.
That's the trend you see. The cars that have to make it on speed have the speed. They putting a lot more effort in these 2 laps than a lot of the cars that were locked in.
Mark Green is a veteran of the series. His best runs in his career have come on restrictor plate racetracks. In fact, his best finish was last year at Talladega. He had a top 5 finish, had a shot at winning the race. Ended up getting drafted by on that final turn and finishing 5th, so still a pretty good performance there.
See him off of turn 4 here. Tracker shows around 15th right now. Yeah, good run, 15th. That's not going to lock him in right at the moment.
But he'll be next to lock in. I think that's a very safe time.
Let's go down where Mike is caught up with David Gaughan.
And he posted a really strong lap, Doc. Another one of those go or go homers. I mean, this is a relief for you. Were you expecting to have that good a lap?
No, not really. You know, Tim Weiss, the crew chief over here, has done a great job. You know, we worked on the car, really focused on getting it to drive good. Felt like we were good enough to beat the cars that we needed to beat to get in the race. So we really made it, worked on race trim and got it driving good. So really, really excited, man. We got Resort Quest on the car this weekend, and I just really got to thank Evander Holyfield and Eddie Smith for giving me the opportunity to come out here and run. I ran from in Charlotte and had a decent day and get to come out and do it again. So I love Daytona. I watched this race and the Cup race from the pits earlier this year for the first time in 3 years and didn't like that much. I'm really happy to be back.
Motivated, and it seems like you've got a pretty good car. You mentioned you worked on race trim during practice on Thursday. To be able to put up a lap like this, knowing you spent most of your time in race trim, how good do you feel about your chances tonight?
I feel really good. You know, the car sucked up really well yesterday. It pushed really good and drove really well. So those are 3 keys to being successful here at Daytona. So, you know, really excited. You know, hopefully tonight the track cool down, gain a little grip, and we can go to the front.
And maybe you'll put on a show, Doc.
Yep.
Well, that would be a huge victory, and for an under-financed team. You know, as he mentioned, Eddie Smith and Evander Holyfield, Tim Weiss, what a job they did in qualifying. Here's Terry Cook. And as many times as Terry has been here in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, this would be his first nationwide start at Daytona.
He's currently 8th in the Truck Series standings with 3 top 5 finishes this year. He's a very capable driver, and getting these cars in the race every week is his main priority.
See, he's not using quite as high a line as some of the guys. He's got his right side tires on that white line, as you can see, which is about a car length away from the wall. But it's still plenty wide enough to get the car up to speed, and here'll be the lap he's really looking for on this second lap.
He has started as high as 7th at Texas, qualified up there in the top 10.
He's had a couple of top 10 starts this year. Of course, Terry's focus is on the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and just coming here intermittently to to qualify some cars. I got to believe if anybody had a car and could put him in a car on a regular basis, he would be a factor. I think he has done a phenomenal job in the few events he's been able to race.
He's a great race car driver. I've raced with him in the Truck Series some and watched him win a lot of races over there. I think he's a very, very good race car driver.
Got to beat a 50.48. Going to be hard to do. See what he can pick it up coming by this time. Let's pick it up almost 0.6 of a second. And he doesn't get it done. 50.70.
Still a pretty good lap to sit on there and wait for some of these other guys to make a run. Should be safe.
Yeah, that does lock Mark Green in, and the run before it locked Curtis Davis in. So we now have 4 cars that are definitely locked into the show.
Still got plenty of cars to go in qualifying and drama till the very end. We got a couple of Earnhardts waiting to go. Kerry Earnhardt, the oldest son of Dale Earnhardt Sr., and working full-time for DEI, getting ready to go out here momentarily just before his brother. Next car to go out to qualify is a driver who has been successful in about everything he has sat in at this racetrack. We're talking about Mike Wallace, and today he's driving the 0 car for Davis Racing. But folks, back here in 2004, July of 2004, on the final lap they were pushing and shoving. Michael Waltrip was leading. He gets pushed aside, and then suddenly Leffler and Dale Earnhardt Jr. go high. But watch the 4 car on the bottom of the racetrack. Mike Wallace would lead only the last half of the last lap, but he would go to victory lane, and wife Carla there to celebrate with him. A big victory for Mike here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Yeah, he came by. That car doesn't sound
like
good.
Sound like it blew up. I heard it come by on at least 7 cylinders, maybe less.
Sorry, thank you for your time.
Yeah, that was the car owner there talking on the radio.
Well,
does not sound good.
No, you can hear it now. He's shut the car off now. Not running at all, and Mike proudly showing his sponsor.
So exciting about having the RC folks on board, and they were carrying an onboard camera tonight. Of course, they had to get the car qualified to get in the field to be able to carry the camera.
Yeah, and he's always so exciting to watch. He does a terrific job at these plate races. No matter what he's in, he always finds himself up racing among the leaders.
Having enough money to have enough spare motors, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just tough trying to make this thing work on a limited budget. Said it's hard to have enough good engines out there to make it work.
It's amazing that Johnny Davis can do what he does, and he does. You said it, Andy. He does a lot of the work. He is just dripping wet every time you see him in the garage area, going from car to car, making it work with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Well, they'll definitely not make the race on speed here, but I guess the only chance they would have, they'd be praying for rain to wash out this qualifying session, and they maybe would make this race because that'd be about the only way they could do it.
And if weather moves in, that could certainly create some issues, and is making some people very nervous down on pit road, Jamie.
Well, being that Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 5 car is going last, Brian Campy is his crew chief, and he just walked up and said, what's the weather looking like? How stressful is this moment when you guys, there's only about 6 cars, but the rain is close?
Yeah, it's pretty stressful. I mean, if we get some cloud cover here, we'll have a good lap. And the car was really good yesterday, and we're just real excited. So we want to get our lap in, show everybody what we can do, and maybe knock that 29 off the pole. The weather's right if it doesn't rain, but yeah, it's pretty stressful.
Wow, those are big words. They're hoping to knock the 29 off the pole, but hopefully, Doc, for their sake, they get a chance.
It is a nail-biting time down there because the radar shows us the typical afternoon thunderstorms are just a few minutes away, and we still have, 8 cars left to qualify.
Yeah, the 3 cars that really don't want to see any rain are the 75 car of Bobby Gerhart, the 83 car of Johnny Borneman III, and the 58 car of Mike Harmon. They would not make the field if it did rain, so they don't want to see it rain either.
And we might mention Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in the field even if it does rain. They're just hoping to be able to qualify, maybe put that baby on the pole. Back in a moment. Next car rolling off here at Daytona is another one of the rookie class from 2009, John Wes Townley in the 09 car. And he will try to go out and get himself in the field. And in order to lock himself in, he'll have to run better than a 50.7 second lap.
Track conditions are about as good as they can get as far as temperature. The cloud cover has come over and cooled the track down, and the air temperature. The only thing it has done too, though, is that threat of rain has got people on their kind of on pins and needles here waiting to see what it's going to do.
Young man, the best finish this year for him has been 16th at Bristol. He has had 13 starts in 16 races. But he has unfortunately been in the wrong place at the right time in the last 3 or 4 races. Had 4 DNFs in his last 5 starts. Joined our coverage. It is Clint Bowyer, who is on the pole right now at a 49.806 second lap. Then David Ragan, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, David Gilliland is 5th. Kenseth, Michael Annett, he is the highest qualifying rookie right now. Then Carl Edwards, Joe Nemechek, and Kasey Kahne rounding out the top 10. A couple weeks ago, they added former series champion guys David Green as a spotter and driver coach to John Wes Townley, and I think that's really starting to help this young man.
It's always nice to have somebody that has that kind of experience talking to you, whether it's a calming effect or just being there to answer some questions you might have as you're trying to learn these racetracks and race cars.
And somebody like David Green is a great one to have. He's got so much experience and just a great guy, too. He would be a great coach for any young driver.
The crew chief on this car, Brad Parrott, early in the year was trying to get John Wes with some of the experienced drivers in the garage area. I think they've got Carl Edwards and a couple other guys come over and talk to him and help him understand, you know, what to do and maybe more importantly what not to do when you're a rookie here, just learning to race on a super speedway.
Yeah, there is so much to learn, and the only way that you can talk and listen all that you want, but until you get out there and get that experience. But obviously, if you can keep things in your mind that these guys have told you, then that's going to help your learning curve quite a bit. We see he's on a pretty good pace here to get himself locked into the show.
Yeah, good qualifying run, 16th, 50.49.
And that will indeed lock him in. And we told you that we still have a couple of Earnhardts left to qualify. Let's go down and visit with one of them. Jamie.
And that would be Kerry Earnhardt. Last time we saw him was at Talladega. Super strong run. You ended up 12th. How does this car compare?
Well, it's a little different here at Daytona. It's more of a handling track. We've been a little tight, but you know, I want to thank LibertyPort.com and FastWax.com for giving us the opportunity to come out and have fun again at these Speedway races. Car's really good by itself, and just hoping that the race were a little better than what we were in practice. But all in all, it's been a good time, you know, and DEI's giving us the opportunity to use the cars. And it's the same car we had at Talladega, so it ought to be just as fast, but we'll see.
Last night it was announced 25 names that are nominated for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Your dad is one of those. What does that mean to you and the family?
That's very special, you know. He meant a lot for the nation and for the country, and just to have the honor to be nominated in the Hall of Fame and be one of the candidates for the inductees, it's a big deal. So,
just for that to happen at Daytona, it's good to see 2 Earnhardts down here, Doc.
Indeed, Kerry is the oldest of Dale Earnhardt's 4 children. He's 39 years of age, and his younger brother, there is Dale Jr., who is 34. Getting set to qualify. They will go back-to-back as the final 2 cars to go out to qualify. And what a career Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Dale Jr. have had here in racing in the Nationwide Series at Daytona. Dale Sr., the all-time winningest driver. He won the first race here in '82, 7 wins, including 5 in a row. And Dale Jr., 5 victories, including 3 in a row. And now Dale Jr. has passed his dad in terms of being the all-time lap leader in this series here.
Yeah, having the opportunity to race against both of them myself, it's uncanny how much they raced alike. I mean, honestly, if you didn't know who was in the race car, you couldn't have told by the way that they drove, because it was so similar. They just tremendous talents everywhere, but especially when you came to Daytona and Talladega.
Here's Johnny Chapman out to try to get his car in, and Andy, he's going to have to try to beat a 50.70. That's the good news if he can beat that, but the bad news is if he beats it, that's his teammate Terry Cook, that he would not. He would still have to wait to get in the field.
Yeah, I think they'll both be able to get in. You see right now Chapman tracking 13th so far. He'll definitely lock himself in, and I think Terry Cook's time will be good enough to get in also. So wouldn't be like bumping him out at the very end. I've seen that happen before, especially with these 2 cars. It seems like that we've seen this happen a couple of times where one of them will bump the other one out of the field. I don't think that's going to happen today. I think they'll both make it on speed.
Johnny Chapman, the 1991 Goodies Dash Series champion, when they ran the subcompact cars here and had a little series for those cars. See some water coming out of the front where the car starting to get some temperature in it.
Oh, they have to put as much tape on the grill as they can, try to get that speed, and it paid off. 19th quickest for Chapman and locked himself in.
So the cars left to qualify to go out are Jeff Green, the 2000 Series champion. There's Jeff going out right now in the 05 car. Mike Harmon, Bobby Gerhart, who qualified 5th at Talladega, Morgan Shepherd, the 15-time winner in the series, and then a couple of brothers Earnhardt, Kerry Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're racing the clock and they're racing the weatherman. It's getting a little bit darker here as clouds are moving in, and there's a small thunder shower just minutes away. They're trying to get these final cars qualified.
Now hopefully we can get through with qualifying and before that rain shower hits and get it in and out of here before the race starts tonight.
Yeah, they call those boomers here in Florida. They say they sort of boom in and all of a sudden you see the clouds get dark and then within just a few minutes they're gone.
That's what I like when they're gone.
See if what Jeff Green can do here and qualifying the car 05. Jeff is a former Daytona 500 pole sitter, so he's obviously DJ has a history of knowing how to get a car qualified on a super speedway.
Yeah, there's no doubt he knows what he's looking for to try to make this thing go fast. And as I said, the driver doesn't have a ton to do with it, but you still have to do your job and get in there and hold the steering wheel as still as you possibly can and not scrub off any more speed.
Well, how much difference can the driver make as far as from the best you can do to the worst? How much difference can the driver make at this racetrack, do you think?
You know, you really can't do a lot to help it. Your car is the majority of it right here. The thing that you can do is you can hurt it as a driver. If you get in and you move the steering wheel a little bit too much, anytime that you move the wheel and those tires move, then you're scrubbing off speed. So you have to really work hard to get your car to where you don't have to do that. I used to literally lock my arms into the seat, took my elbows and put on my seat to make sure that I would not move the steering wheel very much. So you can't help it that much as you want to. You can push that accelerator and feel like you pushed it through the floorboard. It's just not going to go any further, but you can hurt it. And so that's what the driver tries not to do.
Well, our young viewers tonight should be thrilled to hear this. The Sour Patch Kids Chevrolet is officially in the field.
All right.
So good job for Jeff Green. He locks himself into that first lap by a 50.699.
Yeah, I'll check this lap out. He's tracking in the top 10. 7th fastest right now, coming off of turn 4.
2000 champ, former Daytona 500 pole sitter. He drove the pole winning car, subbing for Joe Nemechek here. And let's see what he can do with his run. How about that in the top 10?
Wow, good lap. Good to see Jeff Green up front again.
9th overall at a 50.24. Great job for the Owensboro, Kentucky native in the top 10.
NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. Brought to you by Captain Morgan Original Spiced Rum. Drink responsibly. Captain's orders.
Cars on the racetrack, just a few left to qualify here. The 58 car out on the track, and that is Mike Harmon, the driver out of Birmingport, Alabama, and trying to get his car into the field. Again, the 46 cars here, only 3 will not qualify.
This team really had to scramble in the garage area. They had their primary car, an issue with the roll cage that didn't measure up just right, so they had to get their backup car out and get it ready to go. This is it right here. Didn't get a lot of time to get this car dialed in, but he's got a shot to get in right here. He's going to try to make these 2 laps, see if he's fast enough to get in.
Mike's been around the sport a long time and enjoys racing here, and obviously has not had a lot of sponsorship on his own car, so he withdrew his own car, able to get a ride in this one here at Daytona with a team that already had sponsorship. But you got to admire the fact that a guy just loves being a part of this sport.
Yeah, you're talking about different cars, and we might mention that this will be, right now, the way that things are shaking out, that this will be the last time the Nationwide Series will run these cars. Their plans is to, in 2010 here at Daytona, there are no more restrictor plate races for these. So this could be the last time or should be the last time that they'll run these cars.
So that'll make it exciting for the race. They'll have a bunch of throwaway cars in that race.
Right? Bring anything back.
Don't worry about it.
So last time the cars will race, double file restarts. Folks, it should be fun to watch here tonight, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN.
What a great job. I mean, he's tracking 16th on the second lap, and great first lap, under 51 seconds. So he's making progress here with this car to get in the field, and that's a good accomplishment, you know, for what they had to go through.
As he finishes his second lap, we will mention with just 4 cars left to go, the rain is just on the outskirts of the Speedway property. We do see some lightning in the distance, so it is really going to be a race against the weatherman to get these final 4 cars qualified.
And I can point out that this qualifying session will not be official if every car does not run. So we have to get them all qualified before any of these results are official.
And the problem, it takes so long to drive this racetrack. So if we get just one of those, even if it's just a quick rain, it's usually pretty hard here and wets the entire surface. Then it takes a while.
Who was it? Was it Boris said that's had the worst luck in the world to be able to qualify a couple times on the front row, and it would rain right at the end of qualifying and it would wipe it out.
And here's a guy that really does not want to see it rain. He has to get this lap in, and we have to finish qualifying before he's going to make the field, because if it rains, he would not start this race.
You talk about a racer's racer. Andy was down there with you yesterday in the garage area. 50-year-old Bobby Gerhart out of Lebanon, Pennsylvania. He owns a little truck dealership up there and just loves to be a part. He's been a part of the ARCA series for many, many years. Finished second and third in the points there. 6 Super Speedway ARCA wins. 5 of them have come right here at Daytona. Let's go down where Jamie is caught up with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, Doc, I'll tell you, this is the coolest the entire qualifying session has been. Brian Campy, your crew chief, said, if you guys get a shot at this, the rain holds off, you might get the pole. What do you think?
They run some pretty good laps. So up there with RCR cars, they're pretty fast. Those guys do a lot of good work, and they look good in race trim, too. I don't think that we're quite as fast as they are by ourselves, but Fastenal Chevrolet's been driving good, and it's going to be a handling race, I think, and hopefully we got that covered.
I asked your brother Kerry the same question last night. It was announced your dad is one of the 25 nominees to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you?
Well, he should be a lock, in my opinion. But I'm you know, I hope that he gets some good votes to get in, and anyone who was on that list, any of those 25 guys ought to be really honored. It's really exciting as a driver and a longtime fan of this sport to see that the Hall of Fame coming together the way it is. And I hope that it's very successful and all the fans and the sport itself embraces it. But there's some great names on that list, and it just makes me feel really good when those type of things are going on in the sport, and I'm glad Dad's a part of it.
Good luck, Junior. And Doc, we have to mention he is a lock, as you mentioned, in the field because of a past champions provisional. So even if he doesn't get to qualify, we will see Junior race tonight.
And that would put him at the back of the pack, which would make it even even more interesting. But he wants to put his car on the pole. And you said, Andy, Bobby Gerhart wants to see the qualifying go forth, and he is right now 27th.
Well, they're doing their part. They've got a fast race car, great qualifying run so far here. This rain will hold off. They'll be right up front when this race starts. They worked their tails off down there yesterday, and looks like it really has paid off for them.
Remember, he qualified 5th at Talladega. This might get him up in the top 10 here. Let's see what he does. And he does. He goes to 9th overall, 50.24. DJ, great second lap.
Great lap. And, you know, we don't need to confuse people to think that because they don't run here on a regular basis, Bobby Gerhart hasn't, that these guys aren't a smart group of people. When it comes to this type of racing, Bobby Gerhart and his people are as good as they come. So they know how to make these cars go fast, and Bobby Gerhart knows how to get the job done when it comes race time. They just need to have a little bit of luck here because it is getting extremely dark.
Yeah, they need a lot of luck. I hear thunder in the background here.
Yeah, wind's picking up. It's cooling off here, and it doesn't take long with these breezes blowing toward the ocean to bring some of the weather in.
NASCAR's doing a really good job of getting these cars out a little bit quicker, as quick as they possibly can. You know, they're not changing their procedure, but they're trying to make things happen as quickly as they possibly can.
You can see the rain. You can see it coming down real big over there on the horizon. All this is just rain showers coming down.
So Morgan Shepherd on the racetrack, then Kerry Earnhardt, then Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3 cars left to try to qualify. Let's see if we can somehow beat the showers and get qualifying completed. Now, because of the thunder and lightning, we're not going to have access to some of our cameras that are way up on top of the tower, just based on trying to make sure our crew are as safe as they can be. So we're going to shoot a lot of these laps. We're using some robotic cameras and some low shots here to follow these final 3 cars in qualifying.
Those guys would have probably elected to all go out there together, you know.
Yeah, I bet they would. They'd say, we'll just draft these last 3 cars together and just take our time.
It'd be like an old day race at Hickory Speedway with the Dale Jr. and Morgan Shepherd and Kerry all running at one time. Morgan's best start of the year came here at Daytona back in February when he qualified 20th in this same car. His best finish 13th at Las Vegas.
I tell you, Morgan's tracking this first lap extremely fast. The conditions are, like you say, about as good as they get as far as the temperature and everything else. So these cars, if they can get these runs in, are going to run in great conditions. That first lap, that's the second fastest first lap of anybody today. That's a 50-51. The only car that has run a lap faster than that is Clint Bowyer. He ran a 50-44 on his first lap.
Well, Morgan Shepherd is a 15-time winner in this series, and he has 6 poles. And he is on a pretty good run here.
Yeah, we switched our tracker over to the pole sitter, Clint Bowyer. As you can see, Morgan Shepherd tracking 6th place coming down the backstretch.
You can see he was a good 2 lanes off the bottom of where these other guys were really shortening the track, but that's where Morgan found his cars running, and what a great lap he's got going here.
Man, sparks flying, cars moving.
67 years of age, Morgan Shepherd. Can he get this car in the top 5? He comes down and takes a checkered flag. And 8th overall. What a lap by Morgan Shepherd.
He runs the identical time to Michael Annett, a 50.232 second lap. What a good job, man.
He has to be excited with that.
Need to get these other cars qualified, though, to make it official. Got 2 more sitting down there.
And they're waiting for Kerry Earnhardt to roll out. There's Kerry, and they've said go, go, go. And his brother Dale Jr. behind him, and that would complete qualifying. We just need a few minutes for that weather right there to hold off and be able to get qualifying in. Clint Bowyer has never sat on the pole at Daytona, and we are seeing some sprinkles and now another flash of lightning.
Definitely some showers. I don't think Kerry's going to get this run in. They're probably going to have to throw the caution. Got some pretty heavy rain coming down right here at the start-finish line.
Yeah, starting to see a lot of umbrellas on pit road as the next to the Sprint Cup cars
caution flag is out now.
Caution's out.
So the rain did get here before we could finish.
2 cars away from completing qualifying, and the brothers Earnhardt now getting a rain shower over their qualifying efforts at Daytona.
A lot of people want to see this thing get finished, especially Morgan Shepherd. What a great qualifying run. He wants to start up front. To do that, we have to get this thing completed.
How about Clint Bowyer, your pole sitter?
Oh, man, he really wants to see the rain.
Never sat on the pole here at Daytona, and Clint Bowyer's never won a restrictor plate race here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
You hear some thunder and you see lightning. It's going to be if it doesn't, it looks like it could skirt. I mean, we see some clear skies just over the backstretch.
Yeah, the good thing is right now the track still has a lot of temperature in it, so the rain that's coming here is not extremely hard right at this moment. So we could get pretty lucky if this didn't pick up and wind would blow this right by us.
Now, if we could not get qualifying completed, even though we just had 2 cars left, all of this will be wiped out.
Everything. This is like they didn't even have a qualifying session. If we don't run even just the last car, every single car has to have an opportunity to run.
And they would line them up by owners' points.
And I'll say again, the cars that would go home would be Bobby Gerhart, Johnny Borneman III, and Mike Harmon if it did rain.
So both the Earnhardts who are waiting to qualify would still be in the field.
And that would be great news for Mike Wallace. He blew his engine qualifying, and he would not make the field otherwise. If it rains, he can make the field. Bad news there, though. I'm not sure he has an engine to put in to compete in the race.
Yeah, and all 3 of those guys that you just mentioned are all in the race right now. So they're
all locked in.
Yeah.
So a brief shower could totally change the complexion of someone's week here in Daytona. Some of these teams have been working so hard to come here and get a chance to qualify, and now a shower could change it all. 44 of 46 cars have taken time. The brothers Earnhardt waiting and watching as the rain showers have moved across. Rain's over Daytona, but lots of motorsports coming your way. Tonight, NASCAR Now, 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. And, of course, our pre-race edition tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. NASCAR Now, presented by 5 Hour Energy on ESPN2, previewing the NASCAR Sprint Cup race here at Daytona. And we invite you to join us for our live flag-to-flag coverage, the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time on ESPN, starting with NASCAR Countdown. And, of course, IndyCar coverage at Watkins Glen Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern over on ABC. Well, here's the scenario. 44 of 46 cars have gone out to qualify, leaving Kerry Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the only 2 cars left down there covered up. Now, the showers have moved in here, and that's the ugly radar showing that the afternoon thunderstorms that we typically see in the summertime here in Florida have moved across the Speedway. And, guys, this could totally change the complexion of what's happened here for the last 2.5 hours in qualifying.
As they say, we've lost the track here right now. We were talking about earlier the heat, then it might help that, but it's raining pretty hard. And, you know, where we talk about some losers with those guys that would not be in the race if we can't continue this, you know, there's a couple of guys. You look at Mike Wallace, who had a sponsor that he was debuting here tonight, would help him to get to the race. And then Brian Keselowski, who we were talking about, 7 points out of that 30th spot, to where if he could have a good night, he wouldn't have to be, he could qualify and be a lot easier next week at Chicago for him. So where you have those losers, you have some winners also.
That's right. For every winner, there is a loser, and those 2 guys would win out if it did rain. But this is one car that wants to get out and qualify. Dale Jr. has a fast race car and wants to start up front. He'll start the race regardless, but he did want to get that qualifying run in.
Yeah, he's a 5-time winner here. So if we have not called qualifying as of yet, but if it were to be called, this will be the first time in the NASCAR Nationwide Series history that qualifying would be rained out here in 35 races dating back to 1982. Now, we have not yet called qualifying, but let's go down and talking about a night of first. This could be a night of several firsts for this series. So we go down and get a preview of our NASCAR Countdown show with Alan Bestwick and Brad Daugherty.
All right, Doc, thanks. Been sitting down here watching qualifying, waiting to see how the field was going to be locked in. Now we'll watch the weather together. The forecast is for these showers to move through, and they should have time to dry the track, and we hope for an on-time start to tonight's race. And NASCAR Countdown comes your way at 7:30 Eastern Time. Headline number 1 for the night, the introduction of the shootout-style double-file restarts to the Nationwide Series tonight. We'll bring DJ and Andy in on the conversation, and Doc as well from the booth. But, Brad, what's it mean?
Well, it just means more excitement. I mean, we get an opportunity to watch these double-file restarts, which all of these guys did growing up through different series. It's old Saturday night racing. You're racing for position every time you line up and go. So it's going to make it much more exciting. I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
What about it, Mr. Driver? What's your perspective on what the double-file restarts mean?
Oh, just more excitement. The restrictor plate races are already exciting enough in themselves, but it's going to get started. It'd be like the start of the race every time, and we've seen how exciting that can be. And when we get down to the end of the race and we have that type situation, man, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And the thing that we're going to have to watch for here as we get to it is those guys that are in 3rd, 5th, 4th, 7th, they're going to have the opportunity to make it 3 and 4 wide on these restarts when it gets down time to win. So should be a lot of fun.
And as it progresses on, you know, it's going to change some of the strategy of the crew chiefs, because you put your cars now in this big wad up front. You don't have to worry about them getting all strung out. And it changes the thinking on what you'll do on some of these pit stops.
I was just going to say, DJ, it looked like it was kind of exciting for them trying to hang on to that umbrella around Dale Earnhardt Jr. when he got out of the car there just a second ago. Of course, they introduced these shootout-style restarts to the Sprint Cup Series about a month ago, and we've had a chance to see how that's going to affect the competition for them. We've plucked some examples, and yeah, DJ, the word is exciting and opportunity.
Yeah, these guys can't pass before they get to the start-finish line, so they have to wait. It's just like the start of the race. But look what happens once they get to that point. Everybody 3 wide here. You can see, and we're going to expect to see exactly that tonight, and possibly even a little bit more. But it's certainly made this another part of the race that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the restarts are going to be really interesting. Just like DJ said, you have to stay together, the 1 and 2 cars, 2 positions, until you cross that checkered line. But if the guy in the first position spins his tires or gets out of shape, the guy in second place can take off and go ahead and advance his race car. So restarts are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Here's the view I like. Watch it.
They're going to be all all bunched up.
Talk about opportunity. Yeah, I like this one.
Keep rolling.
Here, 3, 4, 5 he's picking up.
That's a good race car.
That's a brave driver,
Yeah,
too.
that's exactly right, yes.
Yeah, so the double file restarts, again, with lead lap cars being doubled up, and the lap cars going behind them makes its debut here tonight. Now, Andy, what that also does, another aspect of the rule, puts another tool in the hands of a crew chief. It's called the wave around. Basically, the intent of the rule is that the race leader will always restart behind the pace car, so it gives you a strategy option if you're trying to get a lap back.
Yeah, it does, Alan. They did that to make sure, like you said, the leader does start up front, and so the beneficiaries are those cars that would happen to stay out. Let's say on a caution, they stay out on the track and the leader's pit. That would put you up front, you know, and so then they wave you around that caution car and then go green. But you cannot come down pit road until you have taken the green flag on the racetrack. So that being said, that you can gain some track position, but it sure is a strategy play, because sometimes you might be out of fuel, you might need tires, but you'll gamble on not coming in just so you can try to get that lap back in that distance that you could make up.
An example there from New Hampshire, Jeff Gordon was the leader. Those other guys chose not to pit. They got waved around the pace car. They got basically a mile back and rejoined the end of the field, hoping for a jam up on the restart and a quick caution to be able to get back on the same fuel strategy. So just to summarize the changes for the shootout style restarts, the lead lap cars restart double file instead of single file, with the lap cars making up the other line. The leader, unless there's a couple rare circumstances that could be exceptions, but for the most part, the leader always restarts first behind the pace car, and the leader does have his choice for each restart of picking either the inside lane or the outside lane.
Yeah, and that is only for the first two positions, by the way.
Right.
The leader in the second place car.
And in no sense going into all the different permutations of how different things are going to work as far as penalty cars and all that. But you'll see it unfold, and that is just part of what we're going to cover on NASCAR Countdown tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time. And Doc, I'm figuring the rain's going to have stopped and this track will be dry by then. I'm hoping.
Well, typically it does, Alan. The afternoon showers do move across. It moved in very quickly, and we're hoping it'll move across. We're hearing from NASCAR they're going to wait this shower out. And what they're telling us is they're going to wait for this shower to move across and dry the racetrack and try to get these final two cars qualified, Kerry Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, they hope they can, and we do see quite a bit of rain out there right now, and it's hard to see past what's outside that, but it is conceivable. Here in Florida, it does move fast, and they can, get a little sun on the racetrack and probably get this thing dried up.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they can wait this out is because this is an impound race, so these cars aren't going to, it's not like they've got to go back to the garage area and have a lot of changes made to them. There's only a few things that they can do, plus they have a Sprint Cup qualifying session scheduled, so they're wanting to get it dried for that. So with just two cars, they're going to wait this out as long as they possibly can.
Now, either way, folks, both those drivers, Kerry Earnhardt and younger brother Dale Jr., will be in the race tonight. Now, though Dale Jr. believes that he's got a car, if they do get qualifying resumed, that can sit on the pole. And right now, it is Clint Bowyer on the pole. Now, we're going to have to go off the air here because coming up next is some great LPGA action. Jamie Farr Owens Corning Classic presented by Kroger. But we will update what's happening here in Daytona as we wait out the rain showers and dry the racetrack and hopefully get the final two cars qualified for tonight's 7:30 Eastern Time start of the Subway Jalapeno 250 at Daytona. Right now, it is Clint Bowyer on the pole, David Ragan, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, and David Gilliland in the top five. The two brothers, Kerry Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr., sitting and watching and waiting for the showers to move across to get their chance at qualifying. Join us tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time, NASCAR Countdown. We'll talk about double file restarts for the first time in Nationwide Series history. We'll talk about, will Dale Earnhardt Jr. be up front, or will he be starting toward the back of the pack and have to weave his way through the field? Showers moving across. Thanks for joining us for qualifying. And coming up next, the Jamie Farr Owens Corning Classic presented by Kroger. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.